Hey guys, it's Faye from Solar Flow, and I am back with an all-new Ask Me Anything. This is your guys' burning questions and my channeled information as the answers. So if this sounds good to you, please stick around, and if not, I will catch you at another video. Now, two very quick pieces of housekeeping before we dive in, which is first and foremost, I just want to request, if you can, to please watch this video all the way through, even if you think you're not going to be interested in a particular person whose energy I had connected to. And here's why. As we have been discovering in most of the other AMAs, all of the people that were tapping into their energy are bringing interesting bits and bobs and different information that is helping build out the world around us and helping us understand the way that it actually is revolving behind the scenes and behind the veil. So I'm really going to ask a personal favor, guys. If you can, watch it all the way through. If you cannot, please watch the segment on Rose McGowen, because the information that she had brought to me was wild and things that I had never heard before. So if you can, watch it all the way through, and if not, please just watch Rose McGowen. Second of all, I'm also just going to remind you guys, if you're new here, or even if you're one of my subs and you've been here for a while, if your question was asked and I did not answer it, it does not mean that I am not going to get to it. Anyone whose energy I try to connect to, if I connect to it, they get a check mark. If not, they immediately and automatically will carry over into the next AMA. So even if it seems like I'm never going to get to them, it's not the way it works, because there have been a number of cases when I have gone back to try to connect to somebody's energy, and maybe by the third or fourth effort, they actually were like, I think they were probably just thinking she's never going to go away, so let's just talk to her and then she'll leave us alone. So I really do make the effort to do follow-ups and to connect to people's energy. So don't be shy. If you got questions, I'm committed to finding those answers. And with that in mind, let's first dive in. Now, I'm also just going to say the information is in no particular order. I am just reading it to you in the order that I had actually done the channeling sessions in. I'm also going to say that this is a particularly heavy Hollywood kind of edition, and I am perfectly okay with that, because I think part of our journey and part of our relationship as we begin to wake up is to start to understand the way that the Hollywood industry actually functions and operates behind the scenes. And that is why I'm perfectly okay with looking into celebrities. They do bring interesting different bits and bobs and information that is filling in information that perhaps other people are not bringing to us. So don't be shy. If you want me to look into a particular celebrity, I gotcha. I will look into that particular person. But in advance, I'm just giving you a heads up. It is a Hollywood heavy kind of a episode. I'm okay with it. I hope you guys are okay with it. And again, if you can, please watch it all the way through. All right, we're really gonna start this time. So the first person's energy that I was asked to look into is Ashton Kutcher. Now, Ashton Kutcher he started off on TV, and then at some point I think he had started to make his way into movies as well. I wouldn't say he's definitely not like on a Brad Pitt or George Clooney or Angelina Jolie kind of a level, but he is, I would say, an A-lister, just not maybe an A-lister at the caliber of like a Brad Pitt. Let's see what his energy wanted to share with me. So first and foremost, as soon as I had connected to his energy, Ashton Kutcher had said he was seduced by Hollywood. He was good looking, tall, and had a great sense of humor. He thought that would make him popular with the girls, and it did. And it also made him popular with the other up-and-coming actresses. But when he really was able to hit it big was when he had caught the eye of, in his words, some big wig's wife. What's a big wig? It could be a producer, it could be a director, and whoever this particular big wig was the wife actually took a liking to Ashton. And this is when he had shared with me that Hollywood is not like other places in the world. And many, if not most, in the industry have either open or arranged marriages. Now, this is something that had come through previously when we had looked into, I want to say, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, which was that celebrities, in a lot of cases, are actually arranged marriages. And all the contracts can be different for all the different celebrities. Sometimes it can include them actually having marital relations and having children. Sometimes it's for a set amount of time, like maybe 2 years or 5 years, and then the relationship will come to an end. And it's because those people are not actually marrying the person that they want to. They are marrying a person that they are in some way contractually obligated to be with. So, therefore, a lot of these people may not actually even be interested in the people that they're having these marriages with. So, a lot of them are open marriages because the marriage is just a front for trying to make a particular couple more likable or more popular, or it's giving information that makes these rag mags so popular as well. So, a lot of these marriages are going to be open marriages for that reason. Now, he also did share with me that the directors, especially, sleep with their female co-stars, or they sleep with their male co-stars, even if they're male directors, and therefore they have lonely wives at home. So for the actors and the actresses, the marriages may be arranged. It may not be arranged for the directors. The directors may be marrying women to act as a beard. What's a beard? A beard, and this also happens for a great number of the male actors as well. A beard is something that conceals your face if you're a man. In the industry, a beard is something that is going to conceal the real identity of the person. So in this case, if the particular male star may actually be gay, they are going to get into an arranged marriage with a woman to conceal their actual sexual preferences. Because if it was known publicly, like it might be known in the industry, and it probably is, but if it was known rather publicly, then it could in some way negatively impact that particular actor's sex appeal to the general audience at large. And one such actor that I had seen this with is, oh gosh, man names. His name is on the tip of my tongue. He played Wolverine, and he was in that musical, I think I want to say maybe like The Greatest Showman. So he actually is a gay actor, and he's married to a much older woman, and they adopted 2 children. That's to conceal the fact that he is gay. And he is openly gay in the industry, but in Hollywood's efforts to try to put him forth as a leading man and as a heartthrob, and he is attractive, they have him married to a woman as a beard. So this can happen with the actors, it can happen with the directors, where they want to give these people the appearance of having just a normal everyday kind of a life, while in reality it's not really working out that way. So a lot of these directors have lonely wives at home while they are away and they play. So this bigwig's wife, whoever this bigwig was, Ashton had caught her eye, and she wanted him as a pet. And he made her very happy. So in turn, she wanted to make him very happy as well. What was going to make him happy? He really wanted to break into the industry. So she worked to find him work and to get him into movies to make him happy as well. Now, this is where he had also shared with me that very few actors and actresses actually get in the way that it is reported, and that those are covers or cover stories for the way in which they're actually breaking in. So whatever they've said was how they got in, this is the laughable one. I was just in a mall in New Jersey and a casting agent noticed me and they asked me to come in and do a casting call. Really? It's a cover story. That's not actually what happened. So he also said that most cases, So he said that very few actually get in the way that it's reported, and those are all covers or cover stories for the actual entry. What's the actual entry? They're getting in by joining the club. And in most cases, it's the club. Very few, by his estimation, it's maybe 10%, get in without joining the club. Now, if you want to know what this club is, if this is new to you, if you're new here, first and foremost, I've linked it down below. I've done a video on the Hollywood industry and the music industry. I encourage you to go back and watch those videos after you watch this one. I'm also going to encourage you, if you're new here, go back to all of my previous AMAs and click on, if you don't want to watch them all the way through because they're lengthy, click on all of the names that you recognize and all of the celebrity names, because all of those people are bringing interesting bits and bobs and different information that is building out the picture in our understanding of the way that Hollywood genuinely and truly operates. It's a club. We are not in it. The way to become a household name is by joining the club. And there's any different various methods of club membership that will allow somebody to rise through the ranks. But if someone's a household name, like an Ashton Kutcher, in 90%, according to his estimation, it's because they joined the club. In his case, he's one of the outliers that actually was able to gain entry, not through the club, but because he was associated with a big wig's wife. Now, he said he is one of the 10%, but it's only because he had earned the goodwill of somebody else. It was the bigwig's wife. And this particular bigwig, I think he knows who it is, but he just doesn't want to say who it is, because if he's shagging this guy's wife, then he obviously knows who this guy is. He's just not being forthcoming. This bigwig loved his wife. He just wasn't interested in having marital relations with her. So he was genuinely and truly happy that she was happy and that Ashton was servicing her sexually and making her happy. So therefore, he got Ashton his first movie role and was acting, if you will, as a godfather to Ashton in the industry to help him along his way and to continue to help further his career. Now, this is when Ashton said he too didn't realize what Hollywood genuinely and truly was, not yet. He came to understand that later. But he was slowly starting to learn. Now, he said people genuinely liked him because of his sense of humor, but he was also a bit goofy, so he wasn't yet invited to the parties where he was going to be seeing what was going on behind the veil. So he had not yet been exposed to much. Not yet, anyway. Now, this is when he had shared with me that his marriage to Demi Moore was a reward to her, to Demi, was a reward to her for her years of service to the club. She had been playing by the rules. She had been pushing whatever agenda they wanted to push forth. She was partaking in whatever they had wanted her to partake in. She was a good foot soldier. So he was a reward to her. And because here's the thing, she also wanted a younger plaything. There was a very large age difference between Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher when they had married. I want to say maybe it was like something like 15 or 20 years. Now, this is after Demi Moore had already been married to, Bruce Willis. They had 3 children together, not young children, older children. So this was really kind of like supposed to be Demi Moore's revival. This was supposed to be, she's married to a younger man. It was supposed to be like reviving her career and reviving her image. And she wanted a younger man for that purpose. She, being an older woman and also knowing what she wanted sexually, she wanted a man that could keep up with her. So this was really meant to revitalize her image. And though this was in arranged marriage, this also included servicing her sexually. This is when he also had shared with me that that's not always the case in all of these arranged marriages in the industry. Not all of them include having sexual relations with their partner. And this is why it's been leaked to the press that some celebrities in their prenup actually have it written in that they need to be having sexual relations a minimum of once per week. Now, why would somebody need to add that into a prenuptial agreement? If you're marrying someone because you really love them and you really want to be with them, do you need to have a contract outlining how many times per week or a minimum of how many times per week you're going to be having marital relations with them? No. So when things have been leaked to the press like that, it's because that is an arranged marriage, and that's an arranged marriage that contractually does also include sexual relations, like it was for Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore. But he also said it is not always like that in the industry. And also, no matter how you actually get in, whether it's because you're getting into the club one way or another, or you're an outlier like he is, you never really get by without paying your dues. And since he had entered the club by servicing an older woman, the bigwig's wife, that's kind of what he was known for and thought to be good for. He was the older woman's younger plaything. Now, he realized the only way to get out of the relationship was to cheat on Demi Moore and with a much younger woman. Because what had come out, I believe 6 years after they had gotten married, was he had cheated. But he didn't just cheat. Like, how was it leaked to the press? He ended up in this woman's hotel room with a bunch of her other friends. Why did he do that? He had done it so that way there was going to be irrefutable evidence that he had in fact actually cheated on Demi Moore with this woman. And he said that he had done that because he knew that what was going to hurt Demi Moore the most, by cheating with a younger woman and cheating also with a nobody. Because again, a lot of these marriages, they're open. Go cheat with whoever the fuck you want. But that was not the case with this marriage. He was her younger plaything. He was expected to be committed solely to servicing her, not taking any time to actually have relations for himself. And he also shared with me that the cheating scandal and divorce was not written into their storyline, so to say. Because what had also come out with a lot of the other celebrities we have looked into, specifically even like a Brad Pitt and an Angelina, when she was ready to end her marriage to Brad Pitt, she had to get permission on it because they were under contract. They had been put together. They were like one of these arranged marriages. Now, it just so happened that they genuinely got along, their values aligned, they were very sexually drawn to one another and attracted to one another. So when Angelina was ready to end that marriage, she had to get permission to do it. So Ashton had actually deviated from the script. He did not get permission to cheat on Demi Moore and thus to end his marriage to her. He had done it because he just wanted to take control of his life. And because he had been relatively isolated with this somewhat kind of goofier kind of image and reputation, he didn't really know about the dark side. But now he did, because he was told, because he had deviated from the script of the way in which his relationship with Demi Moore was supposed to be, and he had taken matters into his own hand, there was going to be reparations that he had to pay. Or he was going to be blacklisted. And what were those reparations? He was told in no uncertain terms, because of his insolence, That's the exact word that he had shared with me. He now worked for them. He would not say no, or he could not say no, or he would never work in the industry again. And what did he have to do? He was sent out to do charity, so-called charity or outreach missions, but that was actually a cover and a diversion to procure the smaller human beings, the younger and smaller human beings. He was told if he did good and he did not complain, he would be allowed to have his own passion projects, and so he did. Now, these passion projects were, I think he kind of like started his own, what's it called? He started his own like production company where he was producing his own content. It was a trade-off. You have aspirations of what you want to do in the industry besides acting. Okay, you work for us first and foremost, and if you're a good little foot soldier, that will be your reward. Just like Demi had been a good little foot soldier, and he was the reward to her. If you're a good, loyal member to the club, you get what you want. If you're not, they'll blacklist you, and you'll never fucking work again. So he was told if he did good and he did not complain, he would be allowed to have his own production company and his passion projects, and he did. Now, at this point, he did know well and good what was going on in the industry. I'm also going to share that he kind of like jumped, and he jumped around, and the next thing that he had shared with me was to actually end my reading into his energy. He had also shared with me, this might come as a surprise for some of you, he has shared with me that he is now in custody because a great number of celebrities are in custody and are being held for crimes against humanity. He is now in custody and he has cut a deal. He has also sung like a canary, and he shared all he knows, and he is awaiting to hear what will happen to him. So I hope that that answers any questions that you have on Ashton Kutcher, and if not, please do comment down below. Now, the next person that I looked into, there was a question regarding Donald Trump and the indictments that are being brought against him. So what's actually going on there? This is what was shared with me. So he is taking one for the team, and he is exposing how corrupt the political system actually is. You want to know how corrupt politicians and the judicial system is? Just look to see what they're doing to Donald Trump. They are recategorizing crimes that would ordinarily be considered a misdemeanor, and they're making it a felony because they're trying to subvert the American people's will to get him on the ballot. So they are actually trying to get him from being on the ballot for 2024 because they don't want him in office again. But what are they actually doing? They're engaging in criminal enterprise to try to make it look like he's been engaged in criminal enterprise. It's to show how corrupt the entire judicial system and how corrupt the politicians actually are. Now, this is also coming out because this is what has been going on behind the scene for years. He's just exposing it. And everything that's happening with Donald Trump right now is one giant red pill. And if you're not sure what the term red pill means, there's a movie called The Matrix in which one of the main characters, his name is Morpheus, and he presents Neo, the character played by Keanu Reeves, with a red pill and a blue pill. And he says to Keanu, if you take the blue pill, you're going to forget we ever had this conversation, and you're going to wake up back in your bed at home with no recollection of this. But if you take this red pill, you're going to see the world the way that it actually is, and not the way in which the Matrix is presenting the world to actually be. So this is serving as a giant red pill for the entire population. And it is. Look at how many people that are Democrats and are now saying, I was a lifelong Democrat, but yo, what is going on? This is off the fucking chains. and they are now changing their vote, and they're going to be voting Republican, or maybe they're going to even be voting independent, or maybe they're going to just stop having that allegiance to the Democratic Party because of everything that is actually playing out on the world stage right now. So this is one giant red pill. Now, what was also shown to me is that when Donald Trump has said in the past that it is us they are after, and he is just in their way, he meant it. And he was shown to me at this time as shielding us with his back. So imagine, if you will, he's kind of, we the nation are being protected by him. Like, he's grown in size and he's protecting us, and his back is facing outwards, and that his back is therefore exposed, and he is taking hits for us to keep us safe. Because this is actually showing, if they can do what they're doing to a duly elected former president, what can they actually do to us? So what he is doing is red pilling the masses to all of this, and he is taking the hits for us to keep us protected and to also red pill us. And for that alone, he is also being attacked. So I hope that answers any questions that you have on Donald Trump and all of the indictments against him. If not, please do comment down below. And if you are new here, or if you're not familiar with my channel membership, I do have exclusive content that is being made on an ongoing basis for all of my members. One of the very, very first exclusive videos that I had shared is on Donald Trump. So if you want to learn more about him and you want to come to understand him a little bit better, then you can inquire about the membership or head over to the community section where I have more information there. Now, the next person whose energy I was asked to look into is a singer by the name of R. Kelly. R. Kelly is one of the biggest musicians of all time. He has sold oodles and boodles of records. He's made oodles and boodles of money. He was recently convicted of, I don't know what, because I don't research my videos, right? I don't research the people that I'm ever asked to look into. I just know, because I live in the world too, it's kind of hard to completely shield yourself from what's going on. I know that he was recently convicted of something, and he's going to be in jail for a bunch of years. A lot of women have actually come out against him and have claimed there was sexual abuse, and I think that's what he's been convicted for. Let's see what was going on behind the veil with him. Now, interestingly enough, he didn't make it. There was a documentary, I want to say maybe like on Netflix or something, called Surviving R. Kelly, where a number of the survivors had come forth and had discussed what was actually done to them. So if you want to learn more about him, you can, of course, consult Google or consult this documentary called Surviving R. Kelly. What did R. Kelly's energy want to share with me? So as soon as I connected to his energy, he told me, quote, "It wasn't like that," end quote. And he insisted that they, being the authorities, had got it wrong because he never hurt anyone. And he had never insisted that they stay or that he had ever had sex with underage girls. Was this true? Let's explore. He kept insisting that he just had an insatiable sexual appetite, and that's why he always needed to have women around him. Now, what actually had happened with him is that he had experienced a sexual trauma when he was a little boy. No surprise, because things like sex addiction don't just come out of nowhere. Somebody doesn't just wake up one day and be like, I need to have sex with multiple women per day, every single day for the entirety of my life. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It comes from somewhere. So in R. Kelly's case, this had come from the sexual abuse that he had endured as a child. And therefore, his effort to get on the other side of the trauma that he had endured as a child was by having a ton of sex. He was trying to regain his masculinity. Because what was shown to me was that this was, had occurred with an older male family member, maybe like an uncle or maybe like a grandfather. So his effort to have a lot of sex with a lot of different women was to regain his masculinity to himself and to prove to himself, well, just because this has happened with a male, it doesn't mean that I'm gay. So he was just having sex left, right, and center in an effort to prove to himself that he wasn't gay. Because that's the way that unhealed sexual trauma actually works. Not just sexual trauma, any trauma. This is the way that unhealed trauma actually works. That shit will follow you into adulthood and it can fuck you up. Now, what was shown to me was the encounters that he had had with this older family member was at 4, 6, and 7 years old. And due to the fact that it was done with a male family member, he so desperately tried to prove his masculinity to himself over and over and over again. And because, again, this was an unhealed trauma, it wasn't enough just to have sex with one woman. He needed to have like a rotating door of women. He needed to have like a harem of women. So anytime the unhealed trauma was starting to catch up to him, there was here, there's a woman here. Good, I can have sex with her. It was an effort to run away from what was done to him. Yes, so this is a very clear example of how unresolved trauma can haunt somebody and the decisions that they make. Now, what was shown to me is the reason, because he did, in fact, like having sex with underage women, or I have to actually say in that case they were underage girls. The reason he did, in fact, like having sex with them is because they were not fully developed, they were not fully empowered, and therefore they would present no threat to him. He had to be in control. This was his trauma that he was getting onto the other side of, not their trauma. It wasn't even in his periphery that he was actually creating further trauma in these young women. He had to heal his unresolved sexual trauma. So therefore, these women would present, or these girls would present no threat to him. He also liked girls that looked like boys because it was his way of working out what had been done through him. But where he is now the aggressor and he is still in control, but it is still with women. Because what are some things that have come out in the other videos that we've kind of explored? Especially in like what's coming to mind right now is Subway Jared. That's in a previous AMA and it's gnarly. I'm giving you forewarning if you haven't seen it. But what had come out in that one was that because Jared, he himself had been, I don't know if I could say the word, but because he himself had been on the receiving end of unwanted sexual attention when he was a little, his way of trying to get over onto the other side of it was to do the same thing with littles as well. Unhealed trauma does show up in this way. So R. Kelly's way of trying to get onto the other side of it was where he was now the one that was in a position of power, because he was the adult now, and he was engaging in this sexual activities with these underage girls that also happened to look like boys, because it was his way of trying to resolve what had actually been done to him in a homosexual kind of a manner, but it was where it was still with women, so it felt safer to him. And because they were younger and they were not fully developed, they posed no threat to him. And what was also shown to me is that everyone around him, yes, did in fact know what was going on, but they were enabling him. And why did they choose to enable him? He was known to go into a fit or to go into a fit of rage if anyone challenged him. So while those around him knew, they justified their silence by saying, or thinking at least, that, hey, at least now I can still have access to him and I can help him. Were they helping him? No. What was actually going on is he was bankrolling them. And they didn't want to get cut off financially from him, so they were enabling him and then justifying it by saying, well, if he cuts me off, I can't be around him and I can't help him. Were they actually helping him? No. They were just more than happy to be on the receiving end of his financial compensation towards them. He wasn't financially compensating them because he wanted their silence. He never even thought he didn't think what he was doing was wrong. So he didn't have to pay for anyone's silence. He just wanted to be like the big man on campus. Look how well-to-do I am that I can give money to all of these people that are around me. And then because all of these people that were around him were benefiting financially, it behooved them to also enable him, while justifying it to themselves that they were actually around him to help. So they would essentially keep quiet so he would keep giving them money. So I hope that answers any questions that you have on R. Kelly, and if not, please do comment down below. Now here I'm going to skip some pages because this was a video I had done on the Menendez brothers. Excellent. If you have not yet seen it, I recommend going back and watching it. The next topic I don't actually know if I was asked to look, because here's the thing. You guys asked me to look into topics. Sometimes there's topics that I want to look into too. And since I'm channeling, why not fuck? Why not the fuck look into them as well? And if the topic is a longer one that you have not requested, i.e. like the Menendez brothers, which I wanted to look into, and it's longer, they get their own video. If it's shorter, I just tuck it into the next AMA. And that's the case with this next topic. I was asked to look into the so-called Black Eye Club. And for anyone who is not familiar with it, there are a number of, yes, celebrities, but also a number of politicians, as well as the Pope as well, and presidents. I've actually put down a list of all the people that I could find, there's probably even more, that have shown up with a black eye out in public. So what the fuck does the black eye represent? This is what was shown to me. The celebrities or anyone notable in the world or politicians that are sporting a black eye, this is an indication that this person is owned. It's a mark. Now, some celebrities have done hand gestures in either magazines or interviews or where they're posing. They will do any number of hand gestures, which is an indication that they are a member of the club. Because just like the Blood and the Crips in Los Angeles like to flash their signs to other members so other people know that they're all in the club, it's the same thing with the industry. But some people, if they use these gestures, would look out of place. Like, why the fuck would the Pope be doing a Masonic or Illuminati hand gesture? So why would some politicians be doing it? So it is to diversify while still indicating that they are owned and that they are very much still a part of the club. And if you want more information on this, you first and foremost, you can comment down below. You can ask, like, what are some of the hand symbols? I'm not going to flash them. First and foremost, I'm not a member of the club. Second of all, I don't want there to be any aspirations on my character that I am, even though I think it would be whatever. It would be ridiculous to even think that I am. I'm here trying to red pill y'all, right? I'm not trying to, I don't work for the club, right? But I'm also not going to be using them. I'm not completely savvy on what a lot of them are. But I know first and foremost, Beyonce and Jay-Z, they are not shy. They are doing the traditional, I think it's like they make a triangle with their hands. Some of them is like where you do this, or you do this, or you do okay, fuck, I just did one. But it's an indication of like 666, indicating who you are aligning yourself with. Anyway, the black eye is a similar such kind of a indication they are in the club. It's a mark. But if politicians or even the Pope would do it, it would seem to be out of place or it would not make any sense. Therefore, this is just another indication and another reflection of who is actually owned. Now, I did put together a list of again, this is a short list because there's for sure way more of them. These were just like the easiest people that I could actually discover. Quick, like 30-second Google search. So, who did my quick 30-second Google search illuminate as being part of the club? Madonna, the Pope, the last Pope, I think even this Pope, Prince Philip, George Bush Jr., John Kerry, right? If they were flashing Illuminati hand symbols, that would look weird. Kanye, Elizabeth Hurley, Sir Richard Branson, Ben Affleck, Boy George, Barack Obama, Jennifer Lopez, John McCain, Perez Hilton, Adam Sandler, Harry Reid, Prince Andrew, Robert Downey Jr., Reese Witherspoon, and Ryan Gosling have all sported a black eye and are members of the Black Eye Club, and what the Black Eye Club is actually a part of. It's one piece of a bigger puzzle. Now, the next part, so I hope that answers any questions that you may or may not have had on the so-called Black Eye Club, and if not, please do comment down below. And please excuse my being goofy in any reference that I had made about being a member of the club or not being a member of the club or trying to do the hand symbols. I'm not as well versed as others are. I just know what I know, because I just see what I see. All right, so the next person whose energy I was asked to look into is, or actually I'm not even sure if I was asked to look into her energy. I don't even remember at this point. There's a few people, the Black Eye Club and a few other people that nobody asked me to look into, but I was like, either their energy actually came and approached me, or I was like, oh, I wonder what's going on with them. This is one such person, because I have mentioned Amanda Bynes in so many of my other videos, and I was like, it's time. Let's do a formal deep dive into her energy and see what her energy wants to share with me. Now, if you are not familiar with who Amanda Bynes is, she is a young star. She's not so young now. I think she's maybe like in her 30s. And she hit the world stage when she was a younger girl. And she has had very, very notable and public meltdowns that has been explained away as her having mental health issues or a mental health crisis. Like, I think they had said she was diagnosed with like being bipolar or something. I don't know. But since I've actually like referenced her time and again that this could either be maybe like a humiliation ritual, which they will actually do with a lot of celebrities, I was like, let me just see what's actually going on with her energy. And this is what was shown to me. Amanda Bynes. They broke her mind. That's the first thing that came in. She was shown to me as being a proud and sometimes resentful girl, and she had felt like she was pushed into acting by her family. And she was skeeved out at what people were doing on set that she was seeing, or maybe what was being suggested be done to her. She also shared with me that she felt she had no choice, and it felt to her as if there had been a contract in place demanding her participation in the industry, but this was no contract that she had actually signed. Therefore, she was obstinate and was holding out as long as she could. And she was holding out mentally as long as she could as well. And because she was so mentally resilient, that's why they went after her mind. Because what did Kanye share with us was that whatever you're proud of, or whatever your strength is, whatever your gift and ability is what they will come after first and foremost, to break you so that they can own you. And because from Kanye's perspective, his mind was his greatest asset, that's why they went after his mind. Now, Amanda Bynes, because she was so mentally resilient for so many years, that's why they went after her mind too. But because she was also proud, that's why they have not just shattered her mind, but they fucking broke her mind. Now, she was also shown to me that if she would have gone along with it, she would have continued to have been working and acting, but because of her mental resilience, that's first and foremost what they wanted to break. And she was shown to me as like her body language when she was on set and when like this was being like proposed, what they wanted to do to her, she would be standing like this with her arms crossed across her chest, jutting her chin out, like trying to, she was strong, she was proud, but she was trying to really show them how strong she was by like pushing her chin out, because it's a strong bone, right? She wasn't like cowing, she wasn't like this, like trying to hide. She was full embodied. She was standing there, she's like, showing up empowered. So because she was standing her ground, and because what Kanye had revealed is like, what's your arrogance, so to say, or what's your strength, so to say, they will go after and they will break it. So because she was proud and because she was strong and she was mentally resilient to them, they went after her, but they didn't just go after her to make her compliant. No, no, no. They actually were perverse about it in wanting to break her to the point in which she was broken beyond repair. So yes, the mental health issues that she is presenting out in the world, those were, what do they say about some of these things? We don't know. Maybe the person has like a genetic predisposition, or maybe it's caused through the participation and partaking in drugs and alcohol when the brain is still forming. But what actually can cause some mental health issues if you're in the industry? They will do this by breaking your mind through mind control. That is what they did to Amanda Bynes. So I hope that answers any questions that you may or may not have had about Amanda Bynes, and if not, please comment down below. Now, the next person that I was asked to look into, you guys are very, very concerned about her well-being. This is somebody who has come up on multiple occasions, which is, will Britney Spears ever be free? And this is what was shown to me. Unfortunately, Britney Spears is broken. She is unlike Amanda Bynes in where she was not before very mentally resilient, and she was also underdeveloped and had a lot of fundamental ways that she was underdeveloped because her father was pushing her and riding her towards success. So therefore, because her father was so singularly focused on what she needed to do to be successful, there was a lot of other things that she didn't actually end up studying or growing into because of it. So she started out lacking to begin with, plus because of all the mind control that was done to her, because yes, it was done to her. They do it to all of the celebrities, right? Like if you want somebody to push your agenda forth, you have to make sure that this celebrity that you're investing all of this money into is not going to be off script or be off topic. So what they will end up doing with a lot of these celebrities is that they will actually, in fact, subjugate them to this kind of mind control to make them believe that what they're saying are their own actual beliefs and their own actual opinions on matters. And even if it's not, they will actually short circuit their brain where they will reconfigure it to make this be the message that they are putting forth. Because everything in Hollywood right now is an agenda. And in part of the world at large as well, you can say. So because she was not very, Britney was not very mentally resilient to begin with, plus all the mind control that was done to her, plus the overproduction of clones that were made in her image and in her likeness, she has been left very, very broken. So freedom for Britney will look a lot different than for anybody else. Britney is a prisoner and forever will be of her upbringing and all that was done to her. And in some ways, she is as broken as Amanda Bynes. They just left Amanda Bynes in pieces for all the world to see because of her mental resilience and her strength and her so-called arrogance. Like, how dare she try to not allow us to break her? So because Amanda Bynes was left in pieces for all the world to see because of her arrogance and her mental resilience, Britney is much the same, and it's playing out on the world stage, but it's for totally different reasons. It's not because Britney was mentally resilient to begin with. She was actually very mentally porous to begin with, and everything that was done to her on top of it has further left her in pieces as well. So because Britney was flawed to begin with, it doesn't make her any less broken, and we are also not seeing the full extent of it. So I think there's going to be more to come with Britney, in which it's going to be revealed to us just how damaged she actually is. So I hope that answers any questions that you have on Britney Spears, and if not, please do comment down below. Now, another question that I was asked about, completely fascinating, is conjoined twins. What are conjoined twins? It's where there are two, I'm trying to say this in the best possible way. And I've seen like videos on conjoined twins. It's where it's one body and it's two heads and it's two people that are conjoined. They're twins, right? They were born at the same time, but they don't have their own separate bodies. They are born attached together. And sometimes plastic surgeons can detach the conjoined twins if they, for example, they're both born with both arms, both legs, but they happen to be attached. But sometimes they're so attached that there's no way to separate them, because then they would be missing body parts. So it's literally two minds. It's two separate entities that are born completely attached to one another. And this is what was shown to me about conjoined twins. These are two souls that are overly attached. And therefore, in the physical world, it is manifesting as them being physically attached. Because yes, everything we see playing out in the physical world around us has either a energetic, spiritual, or soul component that is causing a energetic or vibrational reality that we see playing out around us. So in the case of these conjoined twins, it is two souls that are overly attached. So them coming in one body was their choice, but it was for the purpose of them learning that being overly attached has consequences. And the degree in which these souls are overly attached will play out in the way that the conjoined twins are born into the world being conjoined. Can they be separated, or they're going to have to completely live their life in their entirety into adulthood, possibly even being married? So how's that going to work? One of the twins is married to one person, one of the other twins is married to another person, and they're all living together in the same house. It gets even weirder than that. If it's a female conjoined twin, they've got one of the body parts that make them a female. So how does that work exactly if they're married to different men? And then the one that's not with her husband, it's still her body, and she's still experiencing the sensations that are happening when her twin is having marital relations with her husband. So where is she going that she is checking out of that experience? Can she really ever truly check out of the experience? It's wild. So this is where the souls are given the option, because they are so overly attached. So prior to them incarnating as these conjoined twins, they are given the option to be together because how overly attached they are. However, it would be where they would be really together, like together all the time. You are so overly attached to one another, these two souls, that you want to be together. Okay? We're going to give we're the cosmic creators of our own reality. So if you want to be this together, you're going to be this together. But you're going to be fucking together all the fucking time. So this is done for them to have the experience in the downside of having this level of over-attachment. And thus, this will then set them free for their subsequent lifetimes. I hope that answers your question on Conjoined Twins, and if not, please do comment down below. Now, the next person who I wanted to look into, because it was fresh in my mind after looking into Amanda Bynes, is Lindsey Lohan, who is another celebrity starlet who rose to fame at a very, very early age. And she actually appeared in, I believe, a remake of, I think it's called The Parent Trap, when she was 8 years old. She's not a twin. And the premise of this movie is it's, I think, two twins that were separated at birth because the parents got divorced and one parent kept one twin and the other parent kept the other twin. And then they go to the same summer camp. They're not even living in the same country. Like, one's in England, one's in America. They go to the same camp over the summer. They encounter each other and they're like, something's not right here. You're my doppelganger. And then they come to understand that it's because their parents divorced and each got one. So even though Lindsey Lohan was not a twin, she was cast to play the twins. Interesting. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and I'm gonna bet that there was any great number of adorable little twins that have agents and could have been cast. But for whatever reason, a non-twin was cast into a movie when she was 8 years old where she was going to be playing twins. Interesting and notable, one could say. I wonder why that might be. Let's explore. So as soon as I had connected to Lindsey's energy, she had shared with me that she has seen some shit. Oh, here's also the other notable thing about Lindsey Lohan. She broke into the industry when she was very young. She would go to clubs with Paris Hilton and I don't even know who the fuck else. She looked strung out. She looked drugged out. She looked like a hot fucking mess for a great period of years there. That's very notable as well. And it directly pertains to the fact that she has seen some shit. When she hit the industry, she was a young little darling and thrown into things that she was not ready for. Somebody wanted her, and that's why they put her in this film. Plus, her mother was her momager, and she did not shield Lindsey from things or experiences that she was not yet ready for, because her mom felt if she was invited to go to some sort of an event, she should go. You do not decline an invitation because you don't know if or when you will ever get another one like it. And since people like you and you're relevant, you go. This was not done with malicious intent. Her mom didn't know what the fuck was going on. This is more a reflection of her mom's own issues that were playing out because they were being projected onto Lindsey. Now, therefore, she was put into a lot of situations she herself didn't necessarily even want to be in. So she learned to drown out her own inner voice and her own inner guidance system and replace it with her mother's. Her mother must know best. She's guiding her in her career. She must know best. So Lindsey turned off these fundamental parts of herself. Meanwhile, Lindsey's mother was living vicariously through Lindsey and trying to repair her own self-worth issues through Lindsey's popularity and success. Now, this is again not to say that she did not have Lindsey's best interest at heart, because she did. However, Lindsey's so-called best interest was also tied to her mother's sense of self, and thus it was being influenced by her. Now, what Lindsey had next shared with me was that she had had sex when she was way too young. She had tried drugs when she was way too young. And she had way too many frenemies, and a frenemy, for anybody that's not familiar, is a friend that's also like an enemy. So it's kind of like the people that you don't really like, or they don't really like you, but you're just kind of like thrown together because you're maybe both up-and-comers in the industry, or you're both young little hot things, and it behooves you to go out together because there's going to be more paparazzi if the two of you are out together. So she had way too many frenemies and not enough actual and genuine friends. Plus, 3D goods were given to her for no actual apparent reason, so she didn't value them or appreciate any of it. Because yes, maybe you don't know, you probably do, that when people reach a certain level of popularity and fame, designers send them shit for fucking free. It's the wildest thing. They can now afford it, but they can afford all of these things. So it's so weird. Like, now that they can actually afford it, they get all this shit for free. And it's coming into my mind very, very clearly right now, a memory that I have, like watching, do you remember like when Nick Lachey and Jessica Simpson's had their own reality TV show? And in one of the episodes, Jessica had shared that a designer, I want to say it's almost like Stella McCartney. I don't even know why I remember this, but Stella McCartney had sent her, and this is going back years, like this got to be at least 15, 20 years now. But Stella McCartney had sent her a designer bag because if she was out and about with it and she was photographed with it, it would make that bag more desirable to like the regular everyday people, the people that actually have to pay for these things. So this doesn't just happen with celebrity bags. This happens with like designers will send their entire collection to a celebrity. It doesn't have to be red carpet attire. They just want these celebrities being seen in this clothing, making it more desirable then and more trendy and more popular. So this was done with Lindsey. She would go to these events where all of this stuff was laid out and it's like, yeah, sure, take whatever you want. Or designers were sending her things. So she never even like learned to appreciate it or learned to appreciate like her own money, because she didn't have to spend any of her own money on any of these actual three-dimensional luxury goods. Now, this is also when she had shared with me, thank goodness she was high or so completely out of it, because she saw some crazy AF things at parties. She was in such an altered state, she had a hard time differentiating what was real from what she was perceiving while she was under the influence. And that is just fine with her, because the little she does remember, she'd rather forget. Now, she also shared with me that her drug use made her somewhat undesirable. Therefore, she wasn't passed around at a very, very young age because of it. She shared that the drugs changes a person's energy and vibration and therefore makes them a much lower vibration and undesirable for the energy extraction that is done through sodomy. Go back and watch the video I had done on the music industry if you want to understand more about this. Or even if you've seen it a year ago and you already forgot. So she says that she finds it to be poetic justice that the one thing that almost ruined her life, drugs, was actually the one thing that had saved her life, because she wasn't passed around the way other people were, because she was involved with drugs when she was way too fucking young, and that lowered her energetic blueprint and her vibration, and it made her undesirable. She said that it took years for her to sort herself out and to clean herself up and to create healthy boundaries with her mother and to understand why she didn't have any with her mother before. Now, she is not taking any undue blame upon herself, as she understands that she was just a child. But she also said that part of her self-development is coming to terms with the way she was and the way in which she was disempowered and why. She also shared that she really enjoys being out of the spotlight now and finally living for the first time for herself. So I hope that answers any questions that you may or may not have had about Lindsey Lohan, and if not, please do comment down below. Now, the next topic that I was asked to look into is something called Project Bluebeam. And for anybody that is not familiar with what Project Bluebeam is, I don't know why I like saying it that way. It just like rolls off the tongue. I don't want to just say Bluebeam. I can't even say it like Bluebeam. Like, it just rolls off the tongue, and it's so much more robust by saying Bluebeam. I don't know why. So I haven't eaten and I'm hungry, and I'm probably just being silly, that's why. But Project Bluebeam. For anyone who's not familiar, there is technology that is available in Hollywood, in the industry itself, where they can create images or visuals of things that look so real that you would believe it to be true. And I have actually seen videos of Project Bluebeam being used out and about in the everyday world, where people will be like walking in a shopping mall, and it will look like they're walking through an aquarium. But it's not just an aquarium with like little fishies. It will literally look like they're walking through a tunnel, and above them in the water is like a whale. This shit looks so fucking real, you would not believe it. And you can also see by like the people's body language as they're walking through it, people are not just walking, going about their business. They are like stopping, and they are transfixed as they are looking up above them. And then it will make it look like there's maybe like a shark swimming on the floor, like by their feet. And you'll see them like turn around, and they're like, because it looks so real, even to the people that are experiencing it. And it doesn't just look real when we're watching it as a video of it. So this shit it's ridiculously easy for them to produce it and for them to make it. So what the fuck are we talking about Project Bluebeam for anyway? So someone was asked about this in connection to so-called alien disclosure. It came in as two separate things, but you'll see why when I actually start to read about it. Because I had gone into it looking at it in conjunction to one another, but it had come in separate and distinct from one another. This is what I have for Project Bluebeam. Don't believe most of what is seen on TV and the news. Rhetorical question. Have we not yet learned anything from what Hollywood has shown us and what they can do with special effects? Because they even have a category honoring it in the Academy Awards. So if the special effects that they are creating is so unbelievably notable, it has its own category, why would we not believe that it can be implemented in everyday life as well? Now, what was shown to me about Project Bluebeam is it's seamless and actually relatively cheap to create things that appear to be real but are not. And because the news is actually I lost my place here, because the news is no more than a propaganda machine, they will go live with whatever they are given to air. What do they say on the news? Breaking story. We have everything you need to know. So they're deeming what we need to know. Why not just tell us everything, and then we can come to our own conclusion what was relevant about the so-called news that we needed to know. The news is a propaganda arm. They are given talking points of what they are supposed to say, and they are giving footage of what they are supposed to report on. Even if those so-called reportings are nothing more than fabrications that was made on a computer somewhere. So I was directed to ask these questions to you guys for you to ask yourself. Which is, ask yourself, were you there? Did you see it with your own eyes? Did someone you yourself actually know see it with their own eyes? Or is this a reputable source? What do you consider to be a reputable? What do you consider to be a reputable source? So if it is being reported, is it at least a reputable source, or is it a source that is controlled dissemination of information? If not, you must question the authenticity or the legitimacy of anything and everything that we see on the news. So that is what I have for you in relation to Project Bluebeam. Next, we're going to go into the question of the so-called alien disclosure, which is as such. The so-called aliens have been amongst us for generations and have already intermarried with us and bred babies with us. That might explain a lot to some of us, maybe not. If not, that message wasn't for you. But for others of you, it might actually explain a lot. So this idea that they will come in from outer space and either launch an attack on us or open their doors and say, "We have come in peace," is laughable. Because the question of Project Bluebeam in connection to extraterrestrials is a disclosure going to come, and can we know that the disclosure that's coming about these extraterrestrials, is it real or is it Project Bluebeam? Okay. Now, what was also shown to us about this laughable idea that they're going to come from space and either launch an attack or say we have come in peace is because Hollywood has done a good job of brainwashing us into believing, or how we perceive it will be when aliens actually do make contact with us. But all of this has been done to hide the fact that they've actually been here for a really long fucking time. And yes, what was also shown to me is that many in Hollywood are actually covert aliens themselves. Not just illegal aliens. So if there is a so-called actual alien disclosure, the question is, why now? And who does it benefit? Again, ask yourself the question for any potential reveal that may come out. Were you there? Did you see it with your own eyes? Etc. Because if not, you have to question the legitimacy of anything that is being reported on the news. It's a bullet point that they are given to tell us what they are telling us we need to know. If not, if you did not see it with your own eyes, or if it wasn't somebody that you personally know with their own eyes, or if it's not a reputable source of what you consider to be reputable, it is suspicious. And what was shown to me is that the actual disclosure will be a lot less dramatic to us because so many more of us will be awake at that time. And thus, it will no longer be a surprise. What we see playing out right now is just for the sake of the sleepers, it's the people in the back who don't have who are in the nosebleed section. They maybe don't see as well as we do. This is all playing out for their benefit, to start to introduce them to things that may actually be revealed later on, but it's not going to be quite so like jarring to them because, you know, the government has been denying for many, many years that there's been alien contact when there actually has been alien contact. So they're trying to make it a lot less jarring to the people in the back in the nosebleed section. They're just trying to normalize certain things. So this is being done for the sake of the sleepers to get them used to what many of us already know, but it's not actually for the sake of for those of us who do know. So I hope that answers any questions that you have about Project Bluebeam and the so-called potential alien disclosure. Let's now move on. The next person I was asked to look into, now he had come up in a previous AMA, but somebody had wanted me to look a little bit further into George Bush Sr. And this is what was shown to me about him. Now this is the elder George Bush. He was president, I believe, in 1980, from 1984 to 1988. Let's see what his energy wanted to share with me. George Bush Sr. had shared he had been a good little foot soldier all along. He was raised in the club. Now this is not the Hollywood club. There's different clubs. He was raised in a different club, but it was still a club. It's all a big club and we ain't in it. If you're the 99%, you're not in the club. So he was actually raised in a faction of the club that deals with politics and the power and control in politics. There's a portion of the club that's associated to Hollywood and music. There's a portion of the club that's associated with news and media, and somebody like Anderson Cooper is in that portion of the club. And then you have a George Bush Sr. and a George Bush Jr. that they were in the political faction of the club. And yes, I'm always and forever going to refer to it, whether or not I am feeling silly, as the club. That's just the way it was always referred to. It sounds so much cooler than just saying like the club. Like, what fucking club are you talking about, lady? It's not a fucking country club, it's the club. So he had been a good little foot soldier all along. He was raised in the club and never really knew anything but the club. Him and Barbara were set up, not just set up like on a date. They were set up as two club members, pledging loyalty to each other and to the club. Because he shared that at that level, when someone is in the faction of the club that pertains to politics and power in the world, anyone that is in the club is unlikely to marry out of it, because you want to make sure that they're both on the same page and they know their place and they know not to color outside of the lines. And also because there are too many questions that can be raised and too little understanding, therefore they don't risk it. And he also shared that it doesn't really even matter if the couple know or like one another. So in this way, it's actually similar to couples being matched up together in the Hollywood industry. They do this in politics as well. And that it doesn't matter if these people know or like each other, because at that level, they know the stakes of the game. They are so fully indoctrinated into the beliefs and the tenet of the club. Their loyalty is to, first and foremost, the club, and not to each other or their own personal wants or desires. They have been fully indoctrinated from the time of their birth. So, it's a high-stakes game. They know their place in it. The club comes first, even above personal happiness. And to that end, they will also even frown on members that are in arranged marriages from cheating. It's frowned upon. It's a big fucking no-no. And why? You shouldn't have enough time or energy to cheat on your partner, whether or not you're attracted to them or whether or not you want to have sex with them. Because if you are completely loyal to the club, then you shouldn't have time to step out on your wife. And if you are disloyal to your spouse, whether or not you wanted to marry them, if you're disloyal to them, that's an indication that you would be disloyal to your brothers and your family in the club. It is a big fucking no-no. Now, it's at this point that George Bush Sr. had shared with me that he realized only after he had crossed over and left his body that he had never really ever been his own man. But it wasn't something that he had known when he was alive, because he was like a little foot soldier. He was completely devoted to the club. He didn't have time to be his own man. And he didn't question being his own man because, again, he was indoctrinated from the time he was young. Again, being raised in it, it was all he ever knew. He was content to read the script that he was given, being the figurehead of President of the United States, to play by the rules, and he had had a happy life because of that. George Bush Sr. had appeared to me as if he is an uncomplicated man, but one that was truly content and happy to talk with me. So I hope that that answers any questions that you may have had on George Bush Sr., and if not, please do comment down below. Now, the next person whose energy I wanted to look into was a young actress by the name of Britney Murphy. Now, I don't know if this was her when she actually hit the industry, or if this is just when I came to know her in the industry, but she had first, or at least to me, first appeared in a movie by the name of Clueless that was starring Alicia Silverstone and another actress by the name of Stacey Dash. It's amazing. There's certain things that I can't remember for the life of me. There's certain names I just won't remember. But I know who Britney Murphy starred in a movie with when I was probably, I don't even know, 15. Make it make sense. I can't. But Britney Murphy had, at least in my understanding, first came into my awareness in playing one of the characters in the movie Clueless. Now, Britney, I don't know how many years ago, but she had actually crossed over. Not 10 years. I would say maybe 3, 4, 5, somewhere like that. She had crossed over. And I'm familiar with the idea that a lot of people have thought that it was perhaps under suspicious circumstances, especially because a few weeks after she had passed away, or maybe even a few months, her husband at the time had passed away. So let's see what Britney's energy had wanted to share with me. First and foremost, Britney Murphy was poisoned. She came to me, her energy came into me like this, showing her hands wrapped around her neck and gasping to indicate that she couldn't breathe. But she was showing me not that she had actually been strangled, but this was the sensation of what it felt like for her. There was an obstruction in her throat in which she could not properly breathe. So her hands were wrapped around her neck, her face was blue to indicate that she could not breathe. She had shared with me that she was poisoned in such a way to make her suffer because they kept giving her hints and chances to stop, but she wouldn't. So she was doing something that the powers that be above her in the club didn't want her doing. But they were giving her ample opportunity to stop. They were giving her hints. They were giving her chances. They were giving her innuendos. She wasn't stopping. So they were poisoning her in such a way to make her suffer. Because that's what they do in the club. Now, she was shown to me as being a little bit like Paul Walker. And he came up in another AMA as well. You can go back and you can find him, in which he had encountered something when he was at a party in Hollywood, where he had seen something that was what the fuck did I just see? He had gone into, he was at somebody's Hollywood Hills home when there was a party. He had walked into a bedroom and he had seen a very inebriated male celebrity with in some level of undress, a woman off on the side, and this inebriated male celebrity was receiving a certain sexual gratification from people that were underage, and it was being recorded. So when Paul had encountered that, he didn't understand he didn't understand this was a piece in a puzzle. He just thought, this is some weird fucking Hollywood shit that people are into. And he wanted to learn more about it so he could disclose it, because he was like, this weird fucking shit. So she too had seen something and also had not understood that this was not just a Hollywood issue, but it was more than a Hollywood issue. And therefore, when they don't understand, again, these celebrities, that this is a piece in a much larger puzzle, they might actually end up being careless about it in who they're talking to or who they are sharing about it. Because they don't understand this is a piece in a puzzle. It's not the entirety of the puzzle within itself, and they have to be careful. So once she had found out about it, again, not understanding it was a piece in a puzzle, she was blown away. And she had shared with me that she thought Hollywood was always a little bit weird. Like, irrespective of what she had found out, Hollywood was always just a little bit fucking weird to her. And sometimes when she had met other celebrities, they had a vacant look in their eyes, like they were there, but they weren't really fully actually there. And she thought fame or maybe money had changed them. She didn't see too much or know too much at that point because she wasn't actually that high up. So without having seen more at this time, she had signed some sort of an supplemental or an additional contract, which would then give her access to the higher echelons in the club, right? It's like a country club. Do you just want to be on the grounds and use the tennis court? Or do you want to have access to the members only room? She was in the club, she was playing tennis. And then someone approached her and was like, hey, do you want to come with me to the members only room? Yeah, sure, I'd love to. Okay, but you got to join the club. You have membership dues you have to pay. So she had signed some sort of an additional or supplemental contract, which she did not actually want to discuss with me, other than to say that she did not grasp the full scope of what it had entailed, and that her complacency was expected with it. But still, when she had found out about the kids, she could not remain silent. She felt compelled to speak out, not just on her own, but with someone so that they could together expose the truth. But she kept getting sick and didn't know what to attribute it to. It was only when she had crossed over did she share with me that she had seen somebody was breaking into her house and was putting something into the air vents, so that way, whenever the heat or the air conditioner was turned on, they were being inundated with this toxic chemical. And she had also said that her husband not dying with her at the same time was pure luck. But that even after she had crossed over, that person was making sure to come back and to continue to put those substances into the air vents so that he too, her husband, would cross over, lest the truth of what had been known ever actually get out. So I hope that answers your question on Britney Murphy, and if not, please do comment down below. Hydration is essential. Now, this next person that I was asked to look into is someone by the name of Alex Jones. Now, for anyone who's not familiar, Alex Jones now has I don't even know if this is on, if it's his own internet show. I don't think it's on cable. It's not on cable. I don't think it's on YouTube, but you can probably find clips on YouTube. I'm not sure what it's called, but he has his own kind of a show. And he is kind of the first public conspiracy theorist, right? He came out espousing all sorts of weird ass fucking shit. And the question about him is he controlled opposition? Now, what is controlled opposition? It's where somebody works for the club, but they are given a script of what to say. And even the things of what they're choosing to share makes them look like they're not part of the club because they're giving reveals. So it's oh my God, if they're saying all of these things, how can they possibly be in it? It's because they're controlled opposition. So the question is Alex Jones controlled opposition? And I will actually share with you, he is somebody that I have discussed with a number of my friends in the past. because his delivery is so fucking over the top. Like, he screams and he shouts and he's... So in a way, it's almost like his delivery could be a deterrent in a way because it makes him look crazy. So is he controlled opposition? Let's see what his energy wanted to share with me. As soon as I had connected to Alex Jones's energy, he had said, quote, I had to do it. Which sounds nefarious, I know. Keep watching. He shook his head, as in disappointed with himself. But he also wanted to acknowledge, despite his gruff exterior and his over-the-top behavior, he feels he has genuinely woken people up. He also shared with me that he did get real and true footage of some sort of a ceremony going on at Bohemian Grove. So he had broken into, I don't even know where this is. I think it's somewhere in the United States. It's a place called Bohemian Grove. There's a huge, like many feet tall, high statue of a owl. And members of Bohemian Grove it's kind of like the Skull and Crossbones, where many of our United States presidents were members of like secret societies in Yale, like the Skull and Crossbones. So many former politicians were members of Bohemian Grove that would go there and they would adorn these robes and they would partake in these weird kind of fucking ceremonies and rituals. He got footage of something that was going on in Bohemian Grove. And this had put him on their radar. Because here's the thing. Whereas before they were perhaps a little bit too arrogant in believing that they could not be caught, or that no one was looking to see what they were up to because we're too fucking asleep, or that no one would care to know what they were up to, he did feel called to look into these things. And thus, he looked at it like it was his duty to try to find out so he could wake people up. But in his effort to try to wake up other people, he had actually woken them up to the fact that he existed, and now he was on their radar. So, them not being stupid, they realized he could be a convenient tool. So, once he was on their radar, he was approached with a deal that he couldn't refuse. Literally, he couldn't say no to the deal because if he would have said no to the deal, they would have just killed him outright. They would have made it look like an accident, car accident or something like that. So because of this, he was amenable to listening to what the terms of the deal was. And they had told him he could continue to do the work that he was doing, and they would not actually even interfere with him. But they would also not help him. The deal was strictly so that he could remain alive. I know you're wondering, what kind of fucking deal is that, right? Here's why. They were not going to help him with anything, but he could live. Because in exchange for them letting him live, he had to be over the top. So for exactly the reason that I had shared, which I think can be a deterrent and turn people off from him, is exactly the reason that they actually let him live. Okay, you're on to us. We're not gonna hide. You got us. You now work for us, because if you don't fucking work for us, we're just gonna fucking kill you. So he had to be over the top in an effort to make himself appear to be crazy, so that way he would turn people off from the truth that he was actually sharing. Now, him being over the top would be a put off, and that is why he chose for that to be his delivery. Now, the reason that they actually even allowed this, okay, Faye, so big fucking deal. They let him live, he's over the top. Are they like, this is a weird kind of fucking deal. what's the meaning and purpose in all of this? And this is because this was being used as a tool to satisfy the Cabal's law of something called so-called karmic retribution. Now, karmic retribution, where is they can tell you what they're doing or what they plan on doing or what they've already been doing. They are sharing it with us. But then once they share it with us, the responsibility is no longer on them in how we choose to receive it or in how we choose to perceive it. So if, for example, the example I'm always using is, let's say we watch like a Marvel movie and we are seeing like these superheroes having these super amazing powers and abilities and gifts, and we're seeing them going out into the world doing these things that we think we can't do. Well, guess the fuck what? According to the laws of karmic retribution, they've told us what is actually potentially possible for human beings and the powers that we ourselves have. We are just perceiving it to be a work of fiction. They're telling us. We're just not paying attention. Part of that is because there's been limitations placed on what we believe our actual powers can be. But we told you. You just don't believe it. You don't believe it's possible. We told you. So because of this, he was allowed to report on the things that he would discover. Again, they weren't going to help him. They weren't going to share anything with him. But he was allowed to report on everything that he had actually discovered because this was satisfying their laws of karmic retribution. He was a convenient tool that was being used to satisfy their laws of karmic retribution. So it's not their fault if we don't believe the messenger because of how he delivers his message. Okay, so he's gruff and over the top. He's still telling you what's going on. Now, Alex Jones also had shared with me he did not receive any financial compensation from the club for the deal that he had made with them. Because again, this was just to allow him to live. He doesn't receive any financial compensation because of it. None. He has not been paid a single cent from him. And he also had actually shared, for anybody that is still thinking, oh, but he joined the club, he's still a member. He asked me rhetorically how any reasonable person would actually think he was in the club if he is liable and he is on the hook to pay members, the Sandy Hook families, where there was a school pow-powing going on in, where a number of young children were taken off the earth plane. He is on the hook and he is liable for paying those families for what he has said about that incident. $1.4 billion. How, in his estimation, how can any reasonable person believe he's a member of the club? The club takes care of their own. Why would he be found to be liable to pay these families $1.4 billion if he was actually in the club? So in addition to him not actually receiving any financial compensation, not a fucking penny, accepting a deal with them just so he could live, and that yes, he could continue to share the truth, but he had to be over the top so it wouldn't be necessarily believable, he's also been financially punished for sharing the truth. Does that really sound like somebody that's actually a member of the club? So he did join this, to accept the terms of the deal, just so he could live and he could continue to do his work without being blocked by them, to no financial gain of his own. He just had to play a role in order to do it. But even though he feels he had to accept the terms of the deal, he does genuinely have a good heart and he has pure intentions and is hopeful that he is actually waking some people up. So I hope that answers any questions that you have on Alex Jones, and if not, please do comment down below. Now, the next person that I was asked to look into is Brooke Shields. Now, Brooke Shields is a actress. I don't really think that she's been in anything major lately. She's older. I think she's in her 50s. But she had come to first stardom. This is fucking crazy. She had I think she posed in Playboy when she was 8 years old, like partial nudity shots when she was like fucking 8. And then she was on a movie when she was a teenager called, I think I wrote it down, something the Blue Lagoon, like Escape from the Blue Lagoon or something like that. And she was very, very attractive at that time. And there was a lot of body that was being shown. Let's explore what her energy wanted to share with me. Brooke Shields had shared she was exploited as a child. She was used for soft-core kiddie porn. Oh shit, I don't know if I can say that. She was used for soft-core kiddie entertainment of a inappropriate nature as a test to see how much they could get away with. She also shared with me she has severe body dysmorphia because she was ogled by adults when she was way too young to understand it. And she has actually spent the majority of her adult life hating her body because of it. She also had shared with me that she hates being in the club, but was raised in it and doesn't know any other way, other than that she is in fact in the club, and this is the way her life is going to be because of it. Her life was set up for her before she had a choice, and all she had to do was walk the path that she was told. This is wild. She also shared with me she is a hermaphrodite, which means she has both female and male genitalia, and was therefore seen as a delicacy on sets, and that the photos that were taken of her when she appeared in Playboy at I think 8 years old, that's not even the half of it. They shared the so-called kosher pictures, while there are photos of her when she was 8 years old exposing the fullness of her actual genitalia. And that these photos are not for regular people to see. We saw what was the agenda. How much can they get away with by putting out onto the world stage? And this was back in what, like the 1970s, I almost want to say? Now, it was also shown to me as being a wide open secret in Hollywood that she is in fact a hermaphrodite, which is the reason why she was cast in the Blue Lagoon movie, and she had posed for Playboy when she was 8 years old. It's to mess with people's perception and understanding of the way in which a female or male body can actually present. It's an agenda. She also shared she hates knowing how many people have seen photos of her and the comments that have been made to her over the years. She had a tenuous relationship with her mother at best because she was, these are her words, pimped out by her mother for the family's success and elevated status in the club. And that also, the last thing she wanted to share with me is that the Hollywood club is so much worse than we can ever imagine, and she is glad now that the truth is just starting to come out. So I'm not sure if that's what you expected, but please let me know if you have any additional questions on the energy of Brooke Shields, and if not, please do comment down below. I want to see just how much there is, a lot. I'm going to try to start picking up the pace, but we got a lot of good shit. All right, next person I was asked to look into is Peewee Herman. Peewee Herman was a actor that had like a very, very weird kids show. I never really fucking understood it. It was weird as fuck. Where he was dressed up, he had like pale skin and his hair was slicked back and he wore like it was just fucking freaky. It was creepy, I'm sorry, my opinion. And he was later actually arrested at a movie theater. I think it was like a adult entertainment film where he was pleasuring himself in the movie theater and he was arrested for it. So this is what was shown to me about Peewee Herman. Peewee Herman was as sick and perverse as they come. I'm sorry. Take it or leave it. This is what came through. And he was rewarded for it. He was an equal opportunity offender, adults, men, women, children, animals. He had a bizarre and dark infatuation with naked bodies of all kinds. And more than that, he had a dark infatuation with bodies that were having relations, and he enjoyed watching that too. He liked looking at their bodies, just being naked. He liked looking at their bodies doing other things as well. But he was also devoid of any attachment to it. That's why he had no problem looking at men, women, children, animals. It didn't fucking matter to him. He didn't have a preference. He liked them all. Looking at them was like a science experiment to him. But it was also one that he happened to enjoy occasionally pleasuring himself to while gazing at it. He mostly did it to relieve the boredom that he himself had experienced. Now, what was shown to me is whatever the story is of how he rose to fame is absolutely false. No one will tell you the truth, which is that he had auditioned to actually be in I don't know if I can say the word, he had auditioned to be in a film where people have sexual relations while being filmed. So he had actually auditioned for one such kind of a film, but he was too skinny and he had no actual sex appeal. But at the casting, he started talking and questions were asked of him to gauge what he was actually into and how he would feel doing certain scenes and what he was in fact willing to do. And voila, a star was born. He was so fucking freaky and weird and wild and different, and somehow he was a sensation because of it. The perversity in the whole thing is that an entire generation grew up watching him and liking him and not knowing who or what he was, and that he was put into this position of prominence precisely for that purpose, so that this entire generation of people would grow up worshiping a pedo and not even knowing. So I hope that answers any questions that you may have had on Peewee Herman. If not, please do comment down below. Now, the next person that I was asked to look into is somebody by the name of Jerry Seinfeld. And Jerry Seinfeld had a show back in the 90s. I think it was called The Seinfeld Show or Seinfeld or something like that. I grew up watching this show. It's a show literally about nothing. But it was a very, very entertaining and very, very funny show, literally about nothing. Let's see what Jerry's energy had to share with me. Jerry Seinfeld can't believe what's become of the industry and how politicized it all is. It's actually the kind of thing he would joke about and he would point out, except that no one is allowed to talk about or point out the obvious anymore, because if they do, they'd get canceled. He shared he cannot believe he's one of those guys now. But it used to be better back in the day, which was when comedians could say, now here's the thing, when he said he's one of those guys now, he doesn't mean that he's a member of the club. He means he can't believe he's one of the guys that actually is like a comedian who can't even speak his mind. Like, what the actual fuck? Because back in the day, comedians could say whatever they wanted to fear without retribution or being canceled. And he doesn't understand why everyone is suddenly going along with it now. He also shared that he is from the pre-club era. So while he had heard that things had changed, it's not things he himself had had to do to join, because he was already like an established celebrity at that point. He shared with me he's always been very observant of human nature and behavior, and that's what made him a particularly good comedian. But, and that's why he was able to make so much money being a comedian, but because he is also an observer of human nature and rather intelligent, he made a lot of money through smart investments. So not all of his success has come through his TV show. And that he also shared he could have been a good businessman for that, except that he doesn't, I loved his honesty, except for the fact that he doesn't like to be around other people that much. And he didn't have the energy to wine and dine clients. Like, yes, come with me. I will invest your money wisely. I will take you out to dinner and I will dazzle you. It's not him. He shared with me that he is content to live his life and enjoy it, and he earned it. So I hope that answers any questions that you had about Jerry Seinfeld, and if not, please comment down below. Now, the next, this is actually a topic and not a person I was asked to look into, and this is digital currency. Now, digital currency is said to be, I'm probably going to butcher this because, again, I don't research my topics, but there is a so-called good digital currency and a so-called bad digital currency. Oversimplification, I know, but the bad digital currency is kind of like a social credit system, which is like if you say the right things and you do the right things and you even think the right things and you don't buy too much meat and you go along with all of the agendas that are out there right now, then your currency will be available to you and you will be able to use it when you go into a store to buy things. But if you don't, if you speak out and you don't say the right things and you don't think the right way, and if you're critical about all the agendas that are out there, you may just go into a store one day and your card will be declined. So you will not be able to buy food because you don't follow the script. So that's the so-called bad currency. The good currency is actually one that is supposed to free us from our servitude. So let's explore a little bit about the currencies, which one is actually kind of being pushed out there right now, and what is the purpose and meaning in it. So this is what was shown to me. Hold on, I'm just reading things that I had already said. So yes, the good kind of digital currency is actually meant to alleviate a lot of the stress that people feel about money. If you yourself have ever been this person where you have gone to a grocery store and you would have wondered if your card worked when you went in, the good kind of digital currency is actually supposed to relieve a lot of the anxiety that people have in buying absolute essentials. Also wondering, can you actually put gas in your car if you could ever actually afford to even have one? So by digitizing all currency, it is keeping everything consolidated in one place without debt and in assurance that there will always be funds for people to use. So therefore, if everything is digitalized, you don't need to go into a grocery store and start taking out all the dollar bills that you have. A funny story, I actually paid for a refrigerator. Funny, not funny. I mean, it's still funny. So I was moving apartments and I actually had to buy a refrigerator. But someone in the building was selling the refrigerator because they were moving to a new place that was actually furnished and it came with a fridge. So they just kind of wanted to unload it. And the building manager had said, oh, someone in the building is selling a fridge, go up and talk to them. So they were like, we just want to get rid of it and recoup some of our money. How's like $100? I had you know those big ass water bottles that are like refillable that you get delivered to your house? I had one of them. And at that time I had been saving up for, I don't even know what I was saving up for, probably like something stupid. Not the aforementioned Chanel bag I have spoken about in the past. But I had been taking like all of my dollar bills and just like stuffing it in there. So I had spoken to my partner at that time and we were like, well, let's just break this open and let's maybe use this to buy the refrigerator. So we broke open the water bottle because it was like a big ass glass water bottle. I paid for a refrigerator with 100 singles. And I remember saying to them when I bought the refrigerator, I was like, I'm not actually a stripper. This is not actually like tips that I have received. Because like who fucking pays for a refrigerator with 100 single dollar bills? So this is just to illuminate the fact that our currency can be bulky. It could be not exactly like the easiest thing to spend. Like, okay, sure, you're going to the grocery with 100 single dollar bills. Make it make sense. Just carrying like money around, it's ridiculous. But for a lot of people that maybe they're even like illegal immigrants, how the fuck else are they supposed to get paid? They have to get paid with cash. So it's actually done in such a way to alleviate the necessity of people going into a store and buying things with cash. But it's also digitalized. It's keeping everything in one centralized location. So instead of carrying 5 fucking credit cards, you can carry 1 fucking credit card or 1 fucking card, whatever it is. So it is keeping everything consolidated in one place without debt and an assurance that there will always be funds available. And here's the thing. It is actually part of a, what's it called? It is part of some sort of a basic universal income. Now, here's where it gets a little bit controversial, because the bad digital currency is also part of a universal income. But this is where it's like, we will pay you X amount of dollars a month. I'm going to make up a number, $4,000 a month. But in exchange for us giving you these $4,000 a month, you have to make sure that all of these are up to date. And you can maybe only buy meat in the grocery store 1 time per week. And you can only buy government issued clothing. You can't go to the store and you can't buy clothing that you actually want to buy, because that clothing was made in a way that is not keeping in mind climate change. And you can only buy government issued furniture because the furniture that you buy it's not ethically sourced, and it's not made in a way that is in compliance with climate change. So the bad form of this, again, oversimplification. How about the nefarious? The nefarious methodology of the digital currency was one in which we would be given some sort of a basic income in exchange for our compliance. But the one that is not nefarious, not with nefarious intentions, but for the highest divinely guided version of ourself, is actually done because it will free up a lot of people's time from the drudgery and the work that they are currently doing right now. I know you're wondering, why the fuck would anyone give us some sort of a basic universal income if it's not to own us and if it's not for our compliance, but it's just to free up our time? Like, why? Here's why. This is going to be pushed out as some sort of a method of reparations for the servitude that we have been living in. First and foremost, the energetic servitude and how we have been siphoned off, just as how we were siphoned off in the movie The Matrix. But more than just how we have been energetically siphoned off, but also because we have been taxed almost to the point of our money being non-existent. The more money you make, the more money you're taxed. Even if you don't make a lot of money, guess what? You're still fucking taxed. You're taxed on every fucking thing. So it is, what did I write here? It is a fallacy. Oh, here's what was also shown to me. Okay, pause, period. Because I sometimes don't write with punctuations. So to me, it looks like it's one long run-on sentence about our money being taxed into non-existence, going to something else. But again, I didn't punctuate it. So we have been taxed almost to the point of non-existence, period. The next point that was also shown to me is that it is actually a fallacy, this is pertaining to taxes, that we are in debt. Our country, your country, any country, our countries are not actually in debt. Here's why. It's not actually possible for any country to be in debt at the level that we have all been taxed. It's not fucking possible. So where has our money been going if it's not been to providing services for the citizens of the country that are actually being taxed? So it's either being sent to somebody else, or it's because there's a few crooked people at the top that are taking money for themselves. So this is another lie that we have been told. We need to raise taxes because we don't have enough money to fix your roads. Or we need to raise taxes because all the public schools need new books or new desks or new whatever the fucks. It's a complete fabrication. Think about how many citizens there are in every single country and how much every citizen is actually being taxed. How are our countries broke that they need to raise taxes on us? It's just another form of servitude in which they are siphoning our finances off of us, which then in turn causes us to have to work harder to earn more money, which then in turn is taking us away from having the energy to actually pursue passion projects or things that actually matter to us or have meaning to us. So it's all a form of keeping us in servitude. So all of the countries are wealthy if not for the corruption at the top, and if not for the money being sent to other places and to other people. So the first step is rebalancing the corruption. Now, so much has been, what am I writing here? Period. So much has been put out to get our minds used to people collecting money for absolutely no reason. We just need to actually see what's been shown to us. And here's a few examples of what have actually been shown to us. Because on the surface, everything we see playing out can have two potential possibilities. One of these potential possibilities with the digital currency is nefarious. One is positive. Here's the evidence that what's going to be unrolled is positive. Look beyond the value. But during the pandemic, every household received $700 just because it was a fucking pandemic and to help us make ends meet. Look beyond the value of it. Then we received a subsequential one as well, a secondary one as well. This is a form of, what the fuck did I write here? So during the pandemic, reparations. Oh, here's another example that was shown to me. Members of the trans community can enter some sort of a, not like a contest, but enter some sort of a, I don't even know what to call it, but where certain members of the trans community would be getting $2,000 a month for the duration of an entire year just because of their the way in which they identify themselves. So there was a big brouhaha about it when it first came out. Like, what the actual fuck? How come like members of the trans community are benefiting from it? Look beyond the veil of what it actually is. This was shown to me as test cases to see how people, when they are given money with absolutely no expectation of how they're meant to spend it, it is actually a test case to see how these people will spend their money and will it actually improve the quality of their life, or are they going to fall victim to any of the potential pitfalls that are out there? Because if you're giving people some sort of a basic universal income, it's meant to improve the quality of their life. So you want to be able to see what are they doing with it? How are they spending that money? Did people take that $700 during the pandemic and go to the liquor store and buy liquor? Are members of the trans community, I'm not just singling them out, anyone who has ever gotten money for any particular reason, whether it was because it was the pandemic or because of the way that they identify themselves, what are they doing with the money? Are they going to buy alcohol? Are they going to go buy drugs with it? Are they still going to go broke even when they are given the opportunity to get money for absolutely no fucking reason? Because the last thing you fucking want is to give every fucking citizen on the planet a basic universal income that is meant to improve the quality of life for them to then fuck it up, to squander all of that money away, when it's meant to take the pressure off of us, where we don't have to be forever in servitude working jobs that we fucking hate because we have expenses. So if a lot of our expenses are actually covered, guess the fuck what? We can actually do things that we enjoy and not be living in servitude any longer. So the purpose of these test cases is to perfect this basic universal income of some kind. Again, don't look at the value, don't look at the monetary amount, look at what it represents. Where they're looking to perfect it on the micro scale before rolling it out on the macro scale. I hope that answers any questions that you have on digital currency and basic universal income, and if not, please do comment down below. I really gotta fucking pick it up because we have so many good topics to look into, and I like to keep these under 3 hours, especially because of the time that I had got started, and I gotta be done with my recording when my little one comes home from school. I'm gonna pick up the pace. So the next person I was asked to look into is Chris Farley. Now, Chris Farley is an actor who, he had appeared in some movies. He had also been on Saturday Night Live for like a great number of years. He was somebody that presented with a lot of additional weight on his frame. And he wanted to specifically address a lot about this. So he had shared with me that, oh, and he died, he crossed over at a relatively young age as well. So Farley had shared with me that he was a deeply wounded soul. And that is why he needed the extra weight on his body to keep him insulated and feeling safe from the world. His humor, too, being a comedian, was very much used the same way, as a tool. Because if he could keep people laughing and keep them entertained, then surely nobody would feel the need to look at him. Nobody would feel the need to ask him if he was actually okay. And he also, and how could anyone even ask him if he would have said I'm actually not okay? Because somebody would say, well, somebody might say, how could anyone so funny be so sad inside? Surely they couldn't. So it was all actually a diversion. The humor was a diversion from the unhappiness that he felt inside. He also shared with me that there was alcoholism in his home and a lot of screaming and shouting, but not just like an occasional go brush your teeth or go take a bath or go to bed. Like there was no form of normal communication in the home. Every form of communication was done via shouting. And that there was also a lot of verbal abuse. So for him growing up, it felt like he was growing up in a war zone. And therefore, he would essentially eat his feelings because he didn't have any proper coping mechanisms in place that would allow him to deal with the war zone that he was growing up in. Now, if his parents, one or both of them, were alcoholics, then they were also, through the virtue of their alcoholism, were also inequipped to deal with they didn't have proper coping mechanisms either. The alcohol was their coping mechanism. So nobody was there to teach him proper coping mechanisms. So he didn't have them in place to navigate the world. So he would therefore eat in large quantities, which would keep people at bay, keep him feeling safe, and it would also reinforce his self-worth issues. He also shared with me that he never really felt like he belonged anywhere, not even when he was a member of the Saturday Night Live crew, and he is glad to be free from his body and on the other side. He shared he has not yet reincarnated, but he is just now starting to get ready to even think about it. So I hope that answers any questions that you have on Chris Farley, and if not, please do comment down below. Now, the next person I was asked to look into is Rose McGowen, and this is one of the people that I really, really wanted everybody to watch because of what had come in. But I am going to share with you in advance before we actually start looking into her. Part of what she shared can be very disturbing to some people. So first and foremost, if you think you would rather not know, please don't watch it. Just skip to the next segment. It is things of a sexual nature. I'm giving you fair warning. Please take your self-care needs into account before watching this segment on her, okay? And with that in mind, we're gonna actually start talking about her. For anyone who doesn't know, Rose McGowen was an actress who, I don't know what she appeared in, some movies. And she now has been incredibly outspoken about Harvey Weinstein because she was one of his victims. So she had gone to his hotel room, he had committed some sort of a assault of a sexual nature to her, and she has been very, very outspoken. Let's see what else her energy wanted to share with me. Rose McGowen is seething. There is this hum of angry energy around her that clings to her like static electricity. She truly hates the entertainment industry because she has come to see that those few on top are actually entertaining themselves with the many on the bottom. Is it actually an entertainment industry? Okay, maybe, but what kind of entertainment is it actually? Are they entertaining us or are they entertaining themselves at the expense of the younger starlets at the bottom? She showed me she showed me that Hollywood, this is kind of like a drawing that I had seen, which is very, very powerful in old people at the top of the club, playing a game of Monopoly, but they're playing it on the backs of the everyday regular person, that is bent over, acting as a table for the Monopoly board to sit on them. So it's where these few people are at the top are playing a game at the expense of the people that are below them. So it's not actually, in her estimation, it's not actually a movie industry, not really. It's actually a power and control, just making sure that that's not carpool, that it is I lost my place. It is a power and control industry, and unless you are at the top, you are a no one. And Harvey Weinstein, she had shared, isn't even the worst of them. He was just the fall guy because the cabal, every once in a while, and this had come out in the segment in a previous AMA on John of God, go back and watch it, it'd be wild. But the cabal, every once in a while, like to take down their own and keep others in line and keep people on their toes and make it appear as if there is some semblance of justice that is actually going on when there's not. So it makes it look like there's justice for the people that have been egreged, and it also keeps the people in the at the top in the line and keep them on their toes because they don't know if they're going to be next. But she had shared there is no justice, not for the, I'm going to have to dance around this, not for the hundreds of kids that the director Steven Spielberg has taken his liberties with. Not for Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. Not for Britney Spears. Not for anyone that I have spoken about earlier that was in the industry. There is no justice for them. And we cannot talk about them. All we are allowed to talk about in connection to this is her sharing this, is Harvey Weinstein and the Me Too fucking movement and Alyssa fucking Milano. There's no love lost. She does not like Alyssa fucking Milano. When Rose McGowan had shared, this is all a diversion. Again, the presentation of justice without actual justice, because money doesn't give back to anyone what has been taken from them. And all that does is reinforce this bullshit 3D mentality that money solves anything when it doesn't. So yeah, she's angry. She's so fucking angry and wishes she could do more, but even now, her hands are still tied. She shared, it's better. It's definitely something, but it's not nearly enough. And it takes all her self-control not to say anything, but yeah, she knows, she gets it. They're not yet ready. They're being the world. She has a lot more that she wants to say about this, but the world is not ready to hear what she wants to share. So she has to balance what she can say so she can still be taken seriously, not end up like an Alex Jones, so she can still be taken seriously and not end up being, not end up being the female version of Alex Jones, but she sees. She said while Harvey Weinstein was the most handsy of them, she was subjugated to horrible things and repeatedly. It was routine for men to demand that women being considered for a particular role show them either their breasts, I'm sorry for what's going to come next, or their ass. And sometimes the word that she had used is, again, this is the word that came in, so I'm trying to be as, I want to stick to what she had said because you're really getting an understanding of her energy through sharing the words that she has said. But she had used a derogatory term to refer to a woman's genitalia. But it's not the word that starts with a C. It's the word that starts with a P. It's kind of like a cat. Because that's the way that the men in the industry would refer to it. So sometimes they would want the women to show them their breasts, sometimes their ass, and sometimes that body part that's women's genitalia that starts with a P. But they would never touch them. it was some sort of a line that these men wouldn't cross so that they could sleep at night. This is according to Rose McGowan, so that they could sleep at night and think that they had somehow not been as bad as Harvey, as in Harvey Weinstein. Because in the industry, he was fucking legendary. Everybody knew what he was up to. It was a big fucking open secret. But these men really weren't any better than him. They too all had a sense of entitlement and a better than attitude towards the women that they were casting for roles. I'm sorry for what I'm about to next say, because this is truly horrific for anyone that has had to experience this. Especially when these men would demand that these women would show them their female genitalia. This is again her word. That starts with the letter, I'm sorry guys. That would start with the letter P, and would then relieve themselves or pleasure themselves while looking at the woman's exposed genitalia. It was so demeaning, and the shame that she had experienced when this had happened to her was something that clung to her no matter how many showers she would take. She also shared, for anybody that wants to know why she cut her hair and she looks so butch, it's because she wanted to make herself appear as ugly as possible, because then she felt the man maybe wouldn't want to look at her anymore or sexually demean her anymore. So it was her effort to reclaim her own power away from them. Now, she had also shared with me that when she had been dating Marilyn Manson, because they had, it had actually been his diabolical idea for her to wear that assless dress. Because I remember they had gone to, she had gone when she was dating him to, I want to say like the MTV Video Music Awards or something, or some sort of stupid video award or award show. And she had worn, it looked like black sparkly chainmail in the front, but it was almost completely exposed in the back, where the back, there was just a few straps keeping the dress together. Her ass was completely exposed. So this was actually Marilyn Manson's diabolical idea, according to her, to wear this dress to the award show as a way to stick it to all of these male men that were going to want her to show them her body parts, or specifically her ass. Because then, here the fuck it is, it's for everybody to see, and all at the same time, and then nobody would be special any longer because of it. She also had shared that Marilyn Manson was similar to these men in this regard, where he thought a lot like them and he knew what made them tick. And that's why it was his diabolical idea. Take the fucking power and control away from these men. And why did he understand power and control? Because he operates all about power and control. So he knew what would make them tick. She shared this was his gift to her, and it was the only one that he had actually given her because he was not a very good partner. Not to her or any of the other lady friends that he had had. And that is because he was too narrow-minded to see it, and all of these young women were too much of a low vibration to realize it at the time that they were with him. Now, at this point, she had also laughed when she shared with me that she had read an article. This is fucking wild. She had read an article in which Jennifer Gardner had mocked outrage at being asked, that she had shared in an interview that she had once been asked to show her boobs to a casting agent. So Rose McGowan was laughing at this to me when she was like recounting that she had read this, and here's why. Because first and foremost, that's not why Jennifer Garner was revealing it. She had revealed it to make it seem as if she had entirely noble and altruistic means in her rise to stardom, and to make it appear as if she was not born into a family that was a club family. I was just a young girl trying to earn my way into the industry, and some casting agent wanted to take advantage and have me show him my breasts. But also that she was sharing it because the casting director was curious how Jennifer Garner's breast implants had come out. But not because she had traded up a size. Maybe she was born with A's and she wanted C's or D's. It wasn't because he was just curious about it. But because Jennifer Garner is somebody that was not born with them. As in, not born with breasts. Not that she was born with little ones and she got big ones. She wasn't born with any breasts because her gender doesn't have breasts. She also shared with me that the whole industry is backwards, with men pretending to be women, men having sex with other men, couples going into arranged marriages, and celebs being too drugged up because they cannot even live with themselves for what they had to do to join the club, that they don't even enjoy being themselves. And she had shared the funny thing about award shows and red carpets is that how glamorous it looks and how friendly everybody appears on the red carpet when in actuality, they all fucking hate each other. This is according to Rose McGowan. And that just the night before, these so-called put together and elegant looking celebrities were lying passed out in a pool of their own vomit or locking themselves into the bathroom to stay away from a partner that they were set up with but hate. It's all fake. All of it. So she is saying, please stop worshiping these false idols. And this is why I wanted everybody, if possible, to watch the segment on Rose McGowan. Part of our ascension and part of our process is breaking up with the relationship we have with celebrity culture. So I hope that answers any questions that you may have had on Rose McGowan. This next person, if not, comment down below. The next person I was asked to look into is a YouTuber by the name of Shallon Lester. Shallon Lester has, holy fucking hell, I think probably close to like 500,000 subscribers on YouTube at this point, maybe even more. I don't even know. Now, she used to be a gossip columnist. I don't even know what publication she used to work for, but she was able to parlay her experience in the gossip industry. She's no longer even a writer for these gossip mags, but she was able to parlay that into talking about celebrities and what we can learn from, not like in a positive way. It's just more like what can we learn from them that will enhance our lives in a three-dimensional level. So let's see what Shallon's energy wanted to share with me. So Shallon had stuck her nose up in the air and looked down her nose at me and sniffed at me as if she couldn't be bothered with this energy reading business. But she also didn't say no to me actually reading her energy because she's just narcissistic enough that she likes the attention. Not that she doesn't believe in energy reading, as she's been known to consult a psychic from time to time, but she's much more of a logical thinker. Facts over feelings. Because feelings make you weak, but facts make you a formidable opponent. And she was a formidable force to be reckoned with. She shared with me she has a natural ability to see beyond the veil in interpersonal dynamics, and that is what made her such a great entertainment journalist. Now, this is irrespective because she didn't want to confirm or deny. She just wanted to talk about, yes, I was a great journalist because I could see beyond the veil in interpersonal dynamics. But she didn't want to confirm or deny if her understanding of what she was even reporting on was a fabrication, because then that would take away from the fact that she's so fantastic at looking beyond the veil in interpersonal dynamics. It might be like the publicist gave the magazine she was working for a story and was like, craft a story about these two fucking people. Okay, well then it's a work of fiction. It's not like her seeing beyond the veil of what was actually going on. So she would not confirm nor deny whether what she was writing was a fabrication, or if it was a fabrication that was released by journalists, or if it was actually true and she was actually just doing fantastic investigative research and journalism. But she also shared that it actually doesn't even matter, right? she's suspicious. She might be suspicious of it, but she's not going to confirm or deny the existence of it. And that she also shared, she's no fool. And that means her being an opportunistic person. So whether or not it was a fabrication, boy, was she able to milk that and use that to her advantage now, wasn't she? She has really been able to parlay her career to include a lot of success in the 3D world now. And Shallon, or her so-called Shallontourage, because she has it's not an entourage, it's the people that love her and her content and her channel. They're her Shallontourage. So her Shallontourage seems happy too. So that's that then, right? Isn't it? And now she had said, go along on my merry little way, as she had then reseated her invitation to read her energy. I hope that answers any questions that you have on Shallon Lester, however you pronounce her name, Lester. And if not, please do comment down below. Next person I was asked to look into, this is a carryover from a previous AMA when I had been asked to look into Jamie Foxx, but I have actually looked into Mia names. Chris Rock's energy instead. This is actually what had come through on Jamie Foxx. Now, Jamie Foxx was taken out because who we see parading around as him now is not actually him. And why? Because he was starting to see the writing on the wall and felt like the industry of Hollywood was a sinking ship. He no longer wanted to be on the sinking ship when it went down. So he tried to extricate himself, thinking that the powers that be would be too distracted by what was actually going on in the industry and how it was being eviscerated before their eyes. So he thought they would be too distracted that he could make a seamless getaway. However, he forgot his place. And what was his place? He still had an existing contract in the club. You cannot leave the club if you have a contract. You can only leave the club when and if your contract expires and they don't decide to renew it. And if you've been a good little foot soldier all along. Other than that, you are property of the club and you belong to them. And so does your likeness and so does your image. That's why they will take somebody off the earth plane and insert a clone that looks like them. They own you. So just like, it's funny the way it came in, just like no one puts baby in the corner, if you know the reference, you know the reference, no one walks away from a contract with the club. So they took him out to remind him that they own him, and he is theirs to do what they see fit with, including taking him off the earth plane. Now, this also stood as a reminder to anybody else that is thinking of bailing the sinking ship that Hollywood is, because they now know that a similar fate awaits them. Just because you think this ship is going down and we're all going down in with it, and just because you think our attention is elsewhere, we still fucking own you. And since they already had a clone lined up for him, why the fuck not? Now Jamie doesn't talk back. Jamie doesn't have a mind of his own. He doesn't try to go off the script, so it's a win, fucking win. Now, Jamie had also shared that he does not mind being on the other side, and he said that it is rather nice to be pure energy without a body. He also had shared with me that it is a little reunion with other celebs that he has known that are on the other side, but do not bother, as they always say the same thing, do not bother asking who is there because we are not meant to know. So I hope that answers your question on Jamie Foxx, and if not, please do comment down below. The next person I actually decided that I wanted to look into is someone called Jack the Ripper. Now, Jack the Ripper is an unidentified man who had killed 5 women in London between, we're going way, way back. We're hopping in a time machine. He had killed 5 women between 1888 and 1891 in London. And he had killed all, I don't know if I can say the word. he had taken women off the earth plane that were the kind of women that would sell their bodies and sexual favors in exchange for money. Okay, so let's see what Jack the Ripper's energy wanted to share with me. Even though he is unknown and we don't know, he was never identified as who he was actually, I can still connect to the energy of what he was referred to as, and that's why I was able to connect to him. So Jack the Ripper had seethed with anger towards women. No surprise, he killed them. But it was a misdirection towards women because he really seethed towards one particular woman and not all women. And who is this one particular woman? His mother. His mother was the kind of woman who would entertain men in exchange for sexual favors to make a living. And she did this so she could keep a roof over her head and the head of her young son. No siblings, no father, it was just Jack and his mother. And he despised his mother because he knew what she was doing. He knew what kind of woman she was. Now, he was also shown to me as having a very quiet and intelligent mind and a fantastically lively mind, and he could have gone on to do truly great things if not for the blinding anger. Now, what was shown to me is that the murders had started when his mother had become ill. I think it was maybe tuberculosis. I don't know why. This is just what had come in. And that they had lived together still. He was an adult at this point. And he was now put into the position of being a caretaker towards the woman that he had hated, but he had also loved because it's still his mother and she still took care of him. So he was incredibly conflicted in his feelings. So what drove him to the pursuit of taking these women off the earth plane was the desire to take his mother off the earth plane. However, she was in a weakened state because of her sickness and she was helpless. So it was like he was killing his mother through proxy and killing these other women. It was his way of trying to work out his own issues onto other women that he had deemed to be unworthy, because he couldn't actually kill his mother, because even though he loved his mother, he also hated his mother and he was very conflicted about his feelings towards his mother. So at night, after she had rested and had fallen asleep, he would go out onto the streets to hunt his prey. It was his way of, letting off steam after the full day that he had taking care of the mother that he loved and hated. What was also shown to me is that the murders had stopped once his mother had actually succumbed to her illness and she had died because of it. And therefore he was no longer afflicted by her existence. He was no longer feeling the love and the hatred towards this woman. And after she had actually died, the rage inside of him had subsided as well, and he was left with no other emotion than the love that he had had for his mother. So I hope that this answers any questions that you may have had or not had about Jack the Ripper. And if not, please do comment down below. I really hope we're gonna make it, guys. If not, I will save everybody that I haven't gotten through for a future AMA because there's a lot of fucking pages here. All right, next question that I was asked about is something called so-called super soldiers. Now, super soldiers, we don't know if they're real or not. So in our understanding of what they may potentially be is where they are soldiers that are created or bred without conscience and without remorse or guilt. So kind of like the creation of like a perfect soldier. You can unleash them at the population at large and they would have no remorse for who they were hurting or who they were taking off of the earth plane. A super soldier. And they would also receive some sort of an enhancement that would make them smarter, faster, stronger. Everything that you could, like basically a fabricated soldier. So let's see what had come through on the energy of super soldiers. Super soldiers were shown to me as, first and foremost, yes, if you're curious, they are very, very real, but they are not prominent in the United States. There are 2 production plants in China in which they are being made similarly to the way that iPhones are being made. And they can be real. However, they are lying in some sort of a dormant state until they are activated, which has not yet happened. There are 2 factories responsible for the production of storing of them, and those that are involved in producing them and making them were shown to me as being under some sort of a mind control or some sort of hypnosis where they are not fully aware of what they are doing during the day. They know they're making something, they just don't remember what they're making. Now, what was also shown to me is why are they even being made? There was one potential timeline that China was initially given the technology necessary to produce them for the future world war. That was, again, this is one potential timeline, there are no guarantees, but the future world war that was designed to completely destabilize the United States of America and thus position China as the preeminent and prominent world power. And thus then what would happen in this potential nefarious timeline was that we would be put into actual physical slavery and not just energetic slavery. Again, this is a potential timeline. It was not a guarantee. The cabal likes to have many different backup plans. In case one goes to shit, they have another one. However, do not worry, here's why. So just like one item can have multiple purposes, such as nuclear power can be used for the good and it can provide power to cities, it can also be used for nefarious purposes to hurt and kill people, i.e. a nuclear bomb. So it's the same thing with these super soldiers. They may have been designed to hurt people or kill people, but which people? And innocent people are evil people. Because who has the key that unlocks them from their dormant state? China does. And because China has now been freed from their own servitude, this is why I said don't worry, these super soldiers can be used to go up against the cabal and any soldiers that the cabal has. And they are soulless because they have been manufactured. They're kind of like, if you will, it's a warehouse full of clones, but they're soulless clones. And they all have enhanced features to make them faster, smarter, more diabolical, whatever. I mean, they have no soul. They can't be more diabolical. Now, what was also shown to me is how can they be used for the good? You want to send people into a burning building, i.e. firemen, to rescue people. Why risk firefighters when you can use a super soldier that can be programmed to save the life at all cost to no actual risk to themselves? Because if something happens to them, it's like it's happening to a Xerox copy. They don't suffer burns or oxygen poisoning. You want people to go down into the bottom of the sea and to clean up the debris that's been there. Who better to do it than people than these beings that don't need to wear oxygen masks, and they don't have to worry about, like, what's it called? I forgot what it's called, but where you're ascending from a low, something very, very low down. If you go up too high, you get oxygen in your blood vessels and you can die from it. Who better to do it than these entities? You don't have to worry about them getting these blood vessels. It's happening to a copy. And they have enhanced lungs. What was shown to me is that in the future, we will come to see these so-called super soldiers as super helpers and not something that we need to actually fear. They will do a lot of the grunt work, such as helping us carry groceries to our cars. They will build houses, they will be movers, and more. So I hope that it answers any questions that you have on so-called super soldiers, and if not, please do comment down below. This next one is incredibly fucking short. You guys had asked me to look into Sinead O'Connor shortly after her crossing over. This is all that had come in on her. Very, very short, but still it came in, so I share it with you. Sinead O'Connor is a singer. She recently crossed over. Just, I think, last year, her son had crossed over, and she is most well known for appearing on the Saturday Night Live show. She had been singing one of her songs, and she had torn a picture of the Pope while she was singing the song. Okay, so let's see what her energy wanted to share with me. There was tremendous grief rolling all around her, and she had never recovered from the death of her son. And even though he was there to greet her when she had crossed over, she is reeling from him not actually being alive. It's like she hurts for the world that he is not in it. She was incredibly depressed after he crossed over and lost all will to live. Being on the other side has actually done little to temper her pain, and it feels like she was energetically decapitated with his death. And seeing her grief through her eyes felt like seeing rain on a windshield that no amount of using the windshield wipers would clear the sheets of rain with. There was nothing but grief around her energy when I connected to it. So short, I know, probably very unsatisfactory, I know, but that is what I had received on Sinead O'Connor. Please let me know if you have any additional questions on that. And if not, I'm going to move on. The next person whose energy I was asked to look into is Notorious BIG, who was a music recording artist. I'm not sure when he had crossed over, maybe in like the late 90s or early 2000s. I think he was considered more of like an R&B artist. Maybe he was considered like a rapper. But he had crossed over under very suspicious circumstances. Let's see what his energy wanted to share with me. So Biggie always felt different in his life and in the world, and the weight on his body, because he was also somebody that represented as a bigger person. The weight was the 3D physical manifestation of that. Like, just in case people didn't realize or know he was different, him being larger than them would also remind them of that fact. Now, he also had shared with me he had premonitions that he was going to die young. He was fantastically gifted, fantastically psychic, fantastically open. But he actually had no idea that he was gifted or that these were gifts that he even had. He just thought everybody viewed the world the same way he did. So when he had come to realize that was not actually the case, that was another reason that he wanted to protect his physical body with the additional weight that was on it, because he came to understand people were going to want to siphon his gifts off of him. So if they couldn't get physically close to him, it gave him some level of protection from them. Now, he was also energetically aligned with all of his chakras working in concert with each other, and that the weight was a protective mechanism for him. It was padding to protect him against the world, because there were people that would want to siphon his energy off of him. I just said that twice. So the weight served as a physical barrier between himself and the world at large, because people couldn't physically get too close to him. He had also shared about his crossing over. He was pledged by P. Diddy, because P. Diddy is ruthless and wanted nothing more than to climb to the top, and he had a do anything attitude. I will do whatever it takes to get there. So he pledged many people, not just Biggie, so that he himself could climb to the top. Now, what was shown to me is that P. Diddy is incredibly well insulated today, and people apparently love him because he is loyal and he pays his posse incredibly well. So, like, whatever the going rate is on whatever he's paying them for, he'll pay them like 3 times the amount, because to him, loyalty and remaining untouchable because of his people's loyalty towards him is of paramount importance. So he is so well insulated because of that. What was also shown to me is Biggie's death was not an East Coast, West Coast revenge killing for the death of Tupac, but this was meant singularly for P. Diddy to get ahead. So I hope that answers any questions that you have on P. Diddy, and if not, please do comment down below. All right, I'm gonna actually skip ahead because Crystal M. has been asking for a long time for me to look into someone by the name of Johnny Gosch. So just in case I have to end early and I can't get everybody in, I'm going to do Johnny Gosch right now. So this will no longer haunt any of us. Okay. Now, I am not going into too many details with what I saw, because it was horrific and I don't want to share it, and I don't want to put more negativity out into the world, okay? I'm not going to go into details. I'm going to keep it, you're going to understand what happened, but I'm going to keep it very surface. Now, Johnny Gosch was a 12-year-old boy that disappeared while doing his newspaper route, I believe in Iowa or Ohio or someplace like that. This is what was shown to me about his energy. Johnny Gosch was shown to me as a teenager being woken up for school in the morning by his parents, where he's yelling at them to leave him alone and pulling the pillow back over his head so that he can be left alone. You want to know what age he is, because this is actually important, because this is when energetically he stopped growing on this side. I would say it was somewhere around 17 years old, maybe 16, maybe 17. He's energetically frozen in time on this side, or the way he chose to come in and show himself to me this way was at this age, because that is the age in which he had crossed over. So he disappeared at 12. He didn't cross over at 12. He was kept alive for many, many years thereafter. Okay? And why? Again, this is when I'm going to start to dance around it. When he was doing his newspaper run, he was stopped by people in a car, and these people in the car that had actually abducted him. And he was taken somewhere, and he was taken to an auction, and he was auctioned off to the highest bidder. And then he was taken to the highest bidder. And sometimes when people would tire of their toys that they had paid for, they'll either trade them to somebody else or they'll sell them to somebody else. So in case you're wondering what I'm trying to allude to, it's the traffic on the school bus when the little kids are on the bus, but they're not going to school. It's human children on a bus, and there's a lot of traffic on the bus. He was taken and was a victim of this traffic on the bus, okay? He was kept alive for a great number of years, not great. He was kept alive for, I would say, another 4 or 5 years. And here is why. It's not just because when he was going to be 18, in theory, he would be an adult and he would be free to leave. It's more to do with the energy. The preference of these people that are paying a lot of money for these people. They want a certain kind of an energy. And the energy starts to change the older we get. So the younger they are, the more energy they have. But there's a certain age in which the energy kind of becomes stale and they don't necessarily want them as much. So when a child reaches this certain age, let's say it's arbitrarily 18 or so, they're first of all bigger, they're harder to contain, they're unruly. It's a different circumstance altogether. So at a certain point when they are, when they are deemed to no longer have value or meaning, and it's a horrible thing to say because of course every fucking person have value and meaning, but not to the people that are buying them because they want to play with them. So at a certain point when they are deemed to have no longer value or meaning, unless they're a woman that can be used for the purposes of reproduction and then their offspring can be sold onto the black market or used for other nefarious means, what they will do with the males is they will take them off of the earth plane when their energy is not as desirable. That's what happened with Johnny Gosch. I had also read online, I don't even know what to, I'm going to mention it because I have a feeling somebody's going to ask about it. His mother had come out a number of years later and said that Johnny had gone to visit her and had said that he was used for this kind of a purpose, but he was too old and nobody wanted him anymore, but he feared for his safety and that's why he wasn't going to come out and he was going to continue to live in hiding. That's not what I picked up at all. I actually picked up that this was done almost as a way to divert attention away from the fact that he's no longer on the earth plane. I did not pick up that it was him. He crossed over 16, 17 years old, somewhere around that. This was a diversion tactic used to make it look like, oh no, he hasn't really crossed over, he's still with us. Now, it's horrible. I'm not even going to deny that what happened to him is horrible. What was the bigger meaning and purpose in all of this? And this was shown to me that his contribution and why he agreed to come to the earth plane for this was that he was going to contribute to humanity, being one of the first kids to appear on a milk carton as a so-called missing, I don't know if I can say the full thing, as a so-called missing human being, but that's a younger one. It was to shed light onto the traffic that is going on in the school buses at a time in the world where it was completely unaware and it was completely unknown. He was adorable, all-American looking, and wholesome. And therefore, his face on a milk carton would be sure to get a lot of attention and to make people pay attention. Now, what was also shown to me is his soul was nearing the end of its incarnation loop, and he had agreed to come and do this one last time so that he could cut out the duration of all of his additional lifetimes thereafter. It was because of him that humanity was pushed to evolve in our awareness of the search for missing children. Now, I'm also going to share with you a conversation I had with one of my neighbors just this morning, which seems so fucking apropos, which is my neighbor had shared with me that you can't escape the awareness of these things now. And my neighbor is asleep. He doesn't even know. He was just sharing that he had recently been in Vegas and he was like, what the fuck? So his take on it is, oh my God, like the world is getting worse. Because like I live in a big city, there's homeless people everywhere, right? And now he's saying, oh, and I even went to Vegas and I can't even get away from it in Vegas because every casino that I had gone into, there are signs in the hotels and in the casinos what to look out for signs of these trafficking of these little human beings. So there's a lot of awareness that is being put forth about this right now. Because of it, lives have been saved. I know that flight attendants, for example, now they know what to look for, and they are actually saving young children that are experiencing the traffic on the bus. So even though this is a horrific story, I'm not even going to deny that it's horrific. There is a bigger picture takeaway in all of this, which is that it has pushed the momentum further forward in our understanding and in our awakening that these things do genuinely, horrifically happen, but that we are savvier for it now, even all of these years later, because I think, what was this, in like the 1970s? But we are so much savvier because of it. And when, again, as I always say, when we know better, we can do better. So I hope that answers any questions that you have on Johnny Gosch, and if not, please do comment down below. Now, I have to figure out what else I can try to get in the precious time that we have. Oh my God, there's so much, and it's all so good. Guys, it's all so fucking good. I have to try, okay, let me go with, I'm going to go with what you guys had requested and not who I had actually looked into. We'll put that in another one if we don't have time. I was asked to look into Clive Davis. Now, Clive Davis, in my understanding, is a music producer. He's like an old-time music producer. He has made many a successful singer in today's day and age. Let's see what his energy wanted to share with me. Clive Davis's energy shared with me that he likes to siphon off the energy of stars. As in celebrities, as in musical celebrities, but not just everyday or any day celebrities, but specifically the stars that he made into stars. And you can Google it. He has turned a bunch of fucking nobodies into somebodies, right? He shared with me it's a very potent hit for him. So it's kind of like the way a wine connoisseur would investigate or experience wine. That they like to taste it, and they like to taste the fruit, and they like to roll it around on their tongue and spit it out, and not necessarily even swallow it, and not necessarily even drink it for the purpose of getting like tipsy, but because they want to have the experience of the flavors on their tongue. This is the way in which he likes to siphon off the energy of the celebrities that he has made. It is exploring the flavor of them once they have become a celebrity. He loves the taste of, first and foremost, gratitude that they have for him because he made them into stars. And how they now get to experience the world and the wonder of touring or the lifestyle upgrade or the money or the fame. He loves it all. And it is very potent to him. Now, he had also shared that because he energetically puts something of himself into all of the celebrities that he is making, he also, when he siphons off their energy, he likes to come back to them and he likes to siphon off that piece of himself that he infused into them. It's kind of, if you will, like he has energetic reserves that he has given to these people that he had made into celebrities, and that when he comes back to collect on it later, it delights him in the way in which he can experience it. So it's a twofold. He gets to experience the flavors of their celebrity status and the gratitude that they feel towards him, as well as him coming back to collect pieces of himself that he infused into them in their celebrity making status. So I hope that answers any question that you have on Clive Davis. If not, please do comment down below. The next person that I was asked to look into is Lana Del Rey, who is a singer and had recently just had something happen at a concert in Mexico where it looked like entire sections in the concert, just people were like falling over en masse. So let's see what Lana Del Rey's energy shared with me. Her energy is like Beyonce's. She is so completely overrun, it's like she is no longer even there. Because when I connected to her energy, I didn't actually connect with her. I was connecting to almost like a recorded version of herself being played on repeat. Because what's being put out of her now today is not actually even her any longer. And here's why. When she was first approached, because she wanted to become a singer, when she was approached by the club, she was truly delighted in everything that the club had to offer. Everything. There was nothing too fringe for her. There was nothing that she didn't want to partake in. Nothing. And she certainly she knew about everything, she had watched everything, and then she would partake in everything as well. So she would then therefore routinely open herself up and invoke spirits at her shows or spell cast at her shows. But because she loved everything that the club had to offer, she was not discerning in what she was taking on, and she would take on too many spirits at once. So it was kind of shown to me like an insane asylum, but the patients are in charge. What are the patients in this case? Entities on the other side. What's the asylum? Lana Del Rey. She is completely overtaken. Her energy is here, but not really here. It's a pre-recorded recording of herself played on loop because she is lost to herself and completely fragmented from herself. So I hope that answers any questions that you have on Lana Del Rey, and if not, please do comment down below. Now, oh my God, maybe we can actually make it to everybody. This is really fucking exciting. Let me get to, I'm gonna save Burning Man 2023 for the end. I don't know if I'm gonna have to, I have Jim Carrey, an update on Idaho 4, Burning Man, and Matt Lauer. You guys haven't asked for an update on Idaho 4 recently. Nobody asked for Matt Lauer. I just wanted to look into him. Jim Carrey's kind of long, but I want to really end with Burning Man 2023. I'm gonna do my best, okay? Here we fucking go. Jim Carrey was shown to me as having been plucked from anonymity. He was given a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be wildly successful, famous, and financially secure, but only if he used his personality and his comedic gifts to drop reveals, and there could be no other way. So he was, if you will, a tool of the cabal. He was perfect for it because everything he would do, whether it was for a film or an interview, he was always assured that all he had to do was be his natural goofball self and nobody would take him seriously. Which is exactly why he was specifically plucked from obscurity to do this. And when I say plucked from obscurity, it doesn't mean he was like walking down the street minding his own business and someone really approached him and was like, you look like you're gonna be perfect for my next film, come audition. It was like he wanted to be in the industry, but in his effort to climb the rings of the ladder, so to say, it was noticed that he had a specific skill set. So he was allowed to become a well-known celebrity household name because of his skill set, which was what? Being a goofball. No one would take him seriously. Therefore, he was going to be used at a later date to drop reveals, and no one would take it seriously. Now, a real turning point, therefore, with Jim Carrey was when he was filming the movie The Truman Show. And what is The Truman Show? A big motherfucking reveal. It's a movie about someone who doesn't know that they are in a movie all about their life. They're just going about their business thinking that they're living their life. Meanwhile, everything they see around them is fake. And everything they see around them is a fabrication because it's being used, or his energetic output is siphoned off for other people. Sounds a lot like the Matrix. And this was a turning point for him because he is not a stupid man, and he had come to understand a great number of things in the being part of the industry. So filming The Truman Show hit a little too close to home for him. And even if you go back and you watch his demeanor in the film, even understanding he's playing a role, his demeanor is very off from the usual kind of demeanor in which he would go about playing characters. And it was because he understood what he was actually doing. It was a reveal, but nobody knew it was a reveal. So his demeanor was very somber. And this was aside from even the role that he was what was called of him to act in this case. And it's because he personally felt bad for being in his own skin and deceiving the world like that when the world was actually like that. So this was a real turning point for him in which he started to evaluate if it was even worth it for him. Like, it was one thing to be a goofball and to do silly interviews, but it was another to literally reveal the way the world is under the guise of it just being entertainment. And from this experience, he started to feel like he had a lack of integrity and he had no self-respect left. The next notable turning point for him was shown to me when he had dated somebody by the name of Jenny McCarthy, whose young son was diagnosed with having autism after he had received this thingy when he was about 2 years old. Now, Jenny, even though she's not really a big part of this, was shown to me as having fallen down many, many rabbit holes in her understanding of autism. And she was therefore instrumental in stirring in Jim Carrey a part of himself in which he understood he could use his celebrity status for something that was good, in which he was going to be outspoken. And him and Jenny McCarthy had actually appeared on, who was it? On some very, very notable show where they were talking about autism. And now what's interesting, you might be wondering, why was he even allowed to talk about this, right? It's because, again, his reputation was somebody that was known to be a goofball. So it was almost like when people were seeing him being serious, it was incongruent. They didn't understand it. They didn't understand how to have a relationship with him or even to take him seriously. So this was also very much done by design. Now this was shown to me as he was allowed to be left alone and to talk about these things because the powers that be in Hollywood simply, first and foremost, had done a very good job in crafting a certain image for Jim Carrey and thus assuring that he would never therefore be taken seriously. And since they, as we had discussed with Amanda Bynes earlier and even with Kanye, what's your arrogance? What's your weakness? What's your one thing that you don't want them messing with? because, so what they had done with Jim Carrey, it's getting loud over, I'm getting all like, bleh, and it's getting noisy over here, and it's real fucking life over here, but we are going to hopefully finish this. I hope. So because the powers that be were very, very good at zeroing in on and identifying a person's particular arrogance or weakness, or what do they want to actually be known for, he was reduced to being a fucking goofball that nobody would take seriously. So therefore, if he was speaking out about something, people would just be like, well, he's fucking Pussy whipped by Jenny McCarthy. And he's just caring about what she's caring about because he just want to keep, you know, hitting that. So people wouldn't take him seriously. And since they are experts at zeroing in on somebody's weakness, it pained him to actually not be taken seriously. And it feels like he has so much that he can share, but he is forever and always going to be known as just a goofball. So the Hollywood elite actually revel in the fact that he could do serious reveals and people would actually take him seriously, but knowing that nobody would actually listen to him. And that, to them, is punishment enough. You want to do good? Too fucking bad. You're a fucking goofball. So when the opportunity had come along for him to share the truth, now this is something that had come up in a members exclusive video that I had done on Isaac Cappy, and I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's an exclusive video. But when he had actually been given and you can join membership too, and I would love to see you over there. We have a great fucking time and the videos are popping. Shameless plug, it's my channel, I can do it. So when the opportunity had come along that he could share the truth, he was ravenous for the opportunity. He did, in fact, reach out to Isaac Cappy multiple times. But it was not just for a deal. He reached out because he genuinely wanted to be connected to those that were working with the good and to try to make the world a better place. And he knew a lot. Now, it was shown to me, I saw him sitting in a room with no windows and a lot of people that were wearing suits, and there was an armed guard at the door. And Jim Carrey was sitting at that table, and he tapped his fingers on the table. And he had said, let's talk. Like he did like this, let's talk. Like he wanted to bring attention to the fact that he was there. He was ready to reveal the goods that he had had. Now, what was also shown to me at this time that is he had spoken to them without having any kind of deal or agreement already in place. And that he did it because his conscience had gotten the best of him and he really wanted to do this so that he could sleep at night. He wanted to make a positive contribution to the world. In the end, it was shown to me that they did, in fact, actually offer him a deal, but it was, again, contingent upon him doing a different kind of reveal. So whereas before he was used as an arm for the cabal to do reveals for the way that the world actually was, under the guise of it just being entertainment, now he was actually going to be used for a reveal of a different kind. Follow me. I'm not going to say everything. If you know, you know. If you don't know, do some digging, do some poking. So what was the deal that was offered to him? So this is again in which he would be playing a particular kind of a role where the truth would be visible and in plain sight to anyone that was willing to look, listen, or really just see how the role he was playing and the character he was playing suddenly didn't make sense. Because if you look back at the way the person looked in previous years and you look at them now, it's like, something's not right here. The eye color is wrong. The hands are wrong. They signed their hands with different hands. Something's not right. Something's just not right here. Look at his teeth. His teeth are very identifiable. I am not saying anything more. If you know, you know. So this was, to him, the very best role that he has ever played to date. I hope that answers any questions that you have on Jim Carrey, and if not, please do comment down below. I am convinced I'm not going to have enough time. I'm probably going to manifest not having enough time because I'm so convinced I'm not going to have enough time. So I'm going to leave out Matt Lauer, even though he's fascinating. I'm going to save him for the next AMA. If you want me to report on Matt Lauer, let me know down below and I will include him in the next AMA. If you're not even fucking interested, I won't even include him. It was enough for me to even look into him. But what was asked to me is, what the fuck happened in Burning Man of 2023? What the actual fuck happened? People could not get in. People could not get out. There was like a supposed Ebola outbreak. What the fuck's going on? So let's talk about this. For anyone who doesn't know what Burning Man is, it is a festival that people go to. I think it's in somewhere in like northern Nevada. It's, I have friends that are burners. They love the experience of going there. You will see maybe like the more authentic parts of people when they're there, because I don't even know how to explain it. I'm sorry, I don't. I've heard people refer to it as like an art installation on like Mars or on the moon. And people get dressed up, and people like to take a lot of substances that will alter your reality and your relationship with people in the world around you. Please Google it if you need to know more about Burning Man. But what the fuck actually happened there this year? Was there the supposed Ebola outbreak? Why were people not allowed to get in or get out? Let's explore. This, and the way it first came in, I think says everything that we need to know about this. This orchestration of catastrophic events was intentionally done. Why? Because as more and more of us are waking up and listening to our bodies and responding more appropriately to the needs of our own internal nervous system, we may find ourselves craving a more simple life. Perhaps a life that includes land, spending time in nature, having space for a garden, having our own animals, and something that includes a lot less of the stimulation that we experience in our day-to-day life. So more actual life, more actual living, less living in the 3D matrix. So this was done to show people, or to scare people, to the potential harms that one might experience if they choose to live off the grid. Because when you go to Burning Man, there's no fucking cell service. There's no cell reception. You gotta bring everything you need for the time that you're there, which is, I don't know, 7 to 10 or even 2 weeks. I don't know how many days it is. You gotta bring everything with you. And yeah, sure, I've heard from my friends that have gone, if it's like the first time you've gone there and you don't know better and you're unprepared, but you know people or you have friends, they'll look out for you. But after that, after your first burn, you're expected to know what you need. They're not gonna help you after that. You take what you need, and if you don't have it, sorry fucking Charlie. So this is very much done to show the potentials of living off the grid. If you are unprepared and you don't have everything you need, well, sorry. So if you want to live tucked away in the country, well, guess the fuck what can happen. Your roads could end up being flooded. Your roads could be unpassable, where you cannot get into town to get the supplies that you need, or the supplies that you need can't even get into town itself. Because you decided to live off the fucking grid in the fucking countryside, and there's one road into the town. And if you can't get past it, sorry, you'll starve. This was shown to make people pause and think, is it actually idealistic? Is it actually doable for me to even want to live off the grid one day? Because if this can happen to a group of 70,000 people that are prepared and they have everything they need for the duration that they're there, what can potentially happen to me if I'm one person living on my own off the grid, or if I'm living in a small community? Because disease can spread and you can't get to help, because that's supposedly what happened there. So this was done in an effort to negatively reframe the experience that the burners have, but also on a large worldwide scale for all to see. But here's the thing. We all make our own reality. So they're trying to portray it this way. We still get to make our own reality through the contrast that the world creates for us. So yes, sure, some people will come back from Burning Man 2023 saying how scary this was and they do not want to go back. But guess what? Some people are going to come back feeling stronger and also more empowered because they had dealt with something unexpected and in a meaningful way and had therefore discovered something new about themselves. Maybe it's the ability to make the most of a situation even when the circumstances are far from ideal. Maybe they're discovering just how strong they are and resilient they are and impervious they are to when the universe or the world sends them a wrench into their plans. So while the effort was to sow discontent, one thing the cabal always does is underestimate us and our strength and our resilience as humans, because we are connected to the divine and they are not. So, this is because we are stronger than them, whether we are at Burning Man, whether we are at home, whether we are on a farm, whether we are homesteading, we are stronger and more resilient than they are. So, humanity 1, cabal 0. I am going to end this video there because I wanted to end it on a super positive note. And if you have watched this video all the way through, or if you have made it to this end point right now and you want to say thank you for my channeling all of this information and me deciding to sit down and share all of the goodies with you, you are more than welcome. I'm not going to say no to the gifts that you may want to bestow upon me. If it's a super thanks, which is just kind of a way of giving a monetary thanks for all of the wonderful information I have shared with you guys, I would be delighted if you would give me a super thanks. If not, I am still delighted that you are here. I am still delighted that we are sharing this information, that the truth is getting out. I am thankful for every view that you guys give me. I'm thankful for every comment because yes, that helps my channel grow. And I am thankful for every time my videos are shared. I love you guys. I'm thankful for you guys. I'm gonna remind you, because a lot of wild shit came out. Please take what resonates, leave the rest behind, and as always, and most importantly, until next time, and every moment in between, stay in the high vibration.